Just want to give you a heads up that this episode will contain spoilers from up through Chapter 10, the Cosmo Canyon chapter of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as well as a couple quick clips from Advent Children and a quick clip from the ending of original Final Fantasy VII.
This is crazy important if this is the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, so plot relevant to this whole thing, and I totally did not see this.
I did not see this. Did you see this? I went back to my main gameplay footage and I was like, nope.
This is right before we go to the seminar with Tifa, right?
Yes.
And Aerith.
Should have been part of the main storyline for sure.
Welcome to the Final Fantasy Files, where we discuss all things Final Fantasy, from Planetology to NPCs to Professor Gast. My name is Jolie Hales.
And I'm Ernest de Leon.
And I'm Spencer Price.
Sorry, Spence, you probably don't know who Professor Gast is, but...
I don't. I was like nervous when you said that because I'm like, I don't remember playing anything about Professor Gast.
I know who Professor Gast is.
Okay.
Don't say it, though. Don't say it.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay, good.
Because I'm like, I didn't play the part that you guys played.
No, you're good. Professor Gast wasn't actually in this chapter. He's just mentioned by a few NPCs, as we'll get to in a little bit here. But yes, for today, we are going to continue discussing Chapter 10 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is, of course, the Cosmo Canyon chapter, which, again, took me 19 hours to complete, so it's really big. Oh, before we actually go into Chapter 10 some more, can I just brag about my husband for a minute, please?
Please do.
Okay.
More of this.
So I had a birthday a few days ago.
Oh, man, I missed it.
Oh, yeah.
You're all good. And Spencer's birthday is actually 2 days from now.
Saturday.
So you can wish him happy birthday on his birthday if you want, Ernest.
I'll wish y'all both happy birthday on his birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So you could share.
Birthday week.
So Spencer has been dabbling in 3D printing, and he's always wanted to try printing me a Final Fantasy figure. He's done a few test prints, but this is the first one that he's made that he painted. Look at how amazing that is.
Wow.
This is, of course, Squall, right? Because Squall came from Final Fantasy VIII, which was my very first Final Fantasy back in the 90s. And then I say this a lot, but I played backwards and then I played forward from 8. But look at how good this is. You guys check out this paint job of the Marlboro and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Spencer is an artist.
So amazing. Let's look at it some more. Yeah.
It's so good. Guys!
Look at the detail.
No, it is. But it's true, though, because if you try to buy a Squall figure, you can get the original, which it's you're legit if you have the original, but the original looks like crap. I'm sorry. The original Play Arts figure looks so bad.
Yeah.
This looks really good. Oh, and shout out to Nom Nom. Nom Nom Figures. I don't know if you can see that.
Look at the terrible paint job on the bottom. Don't look.
Sorry,
I'm embarrassed.
Sorry. Oh,
I'm kidding.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, but no, shout out to Nom Nom. Nom Nom Figures makes the best Final Fantasy 3D printed figures out there.
I may have just broken something off the back.
You did. You just broke it. It's okay.
I think I broke a piece.
Wow, that lasted all of 5 minutes.
The nice thing about 3D printing is that you can just print another one.
Well, no, because
That's right.
Shoot, I literally just broke this.
It's just the chain. It's just the lion chain on the end of his gunblade.
I bumped it, and I heard it hit the ground, but it was so...
It's okay.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I just broke my birthday present.
He looks really great, but I have problems. Jolie, don't show him his face too closely. It's okay. I did an okay job for my first paint job. I will get better, and I'm excited to print more.
I can't believe I broke him.
It's fine. It's just the little...
Dang
the little
it.
chain on the end of his sword.
Talk about a dick move.
Anyway, I just thought that was the coolest birthday present. I didn't do anything like that for him for his birthday. So
That's okay.
I'm a terrible wife.
She's not. She's amazing.
No.
All right, we went to the Olive Garden. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. The Olive Garden.
That's what I'm doing for my birthday. I'm going to go out and not have any responsibilities to make food.
Yeah, because Spencer makes all the food in the house.
But are you going to the Olive Garden?
Olive Garden is really good. That's actually my favorite place to eat, which we never go there because it's expensive for us.
We're fancy here.
Yes.
At the Final Fantasy Files.
Tacky would be an understatement.
The other side note, too, today's shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Ernest, do you get it?
Oh man, I'm trying to see.
Has Ernest played 15?
Do you get it, Ernest?
Yeah, it's a cup of noodles from that. That's like the running joke in 15.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
this would
okay.
be...
I know who it is.
I don't know. I can't see too well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're not sorry. It's Ignis. And he says, that's it. I've discovered a new recipe.
Yep.
So Ignis, I thought this was super cute. But it's so funny because whoever designed this shirt, I didn't know this when I ordered it. They put like their name at the bottom of the shirt and like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm wearing some random girl named Jessica's name, 2017.
You know what? Shout out to Jessica. Give her some love on Redbubble and buy all her merch.
Putting herself out there.
You would never have talked about anyone else's merch had their name not been plastered
I know.
on the front of the design.
I mean, good for you, Jessica. Like, good on you. Good on me, really, literally. But, like, I don't really want to wear her name, but the design is cute. It's also huge. I was hoping that the little picture would be smaller up here, but that's okay. And I'm kind of blending in with my shelves. I'm like a floating head.
You are kind of blending in with the purple shells.
Maybe I should have considered the color before I bought this one.
That's okay.
Whatever. Okay, we're going through this. I've already broken a figurine and I'm a floating head. So this is going real well.
I'm a floating head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I should also point out, like we always do, that Spencer and I have beat the game. We beat it when it first came out. I beat it on normal mode where I did all the side quests, and then Spencer also beat it on normal mode, but he streamlined the story, and now he's playing it again with us, but this time on hard mode, and he's doing all the side quests this time around. And I think Ernest is also playing along with us now, right?
Right.
So this is your first playthrough, and you're doing it on story mode, and you're in chapter 11.
Right.
Okay, cool. Because you probably haven't made progress since our last discussion because we haven't made progress.
I made zero progress.
That's fine.
I'm way ahead of where we are as far as like content wise, but I need to keep making progress.
You have plenty of time. Trust me.
We decided to do shorter episodes so we could record at night while our kids go to sleep and Jolie wouldn't have to edit these giant episodes. And it just turns out that we're just going to do more episodes.
We're just going to do more. I mean, they are shorter than 5 or 6 hours because some of our recordings were over 6 hours. Like they were way too long. So I can handle up to 3.
Mm-hmm. This is way better this way anyway, I think.
Yeah, it works out well. And as always, of course, if you want to have a comment read in one of our Chapter 10 discussions on something that we haven't discussed yet in this chapter, there's still time, probably even at the end of this, to leave a comment. And by going to the YouTube community post, that's how you do it, right? You go to YouTube, go to the community posts, look for a picture that has red on it, and that's the post that we pull from for Chapter 10 discussions, which reminds me, I think I actually need to clarify something for some of our audience who I think have misunderstood my approach to evaluating storytelling in games. So like specifically in this Retrilogy, of course. Now this can be, I guess, our official opening tangent.
We always do that.
We always end up just talking about some random subject in the beginning. So it can be this.
I think it's good because when you feel like people aren't understanding your criticisms, it's never a bad thing to try to explain yourself. So,
well, thanks, supportive husband. Yeah. I will do this thing. And I mean, this misunderstanding is probably honestly my fault because I think a lot of times, I mean, this is just a conversation show, right? So we're shooting opinions from the hip, and sometimes we haven't really thought in depth on how to communicate a specific opinion. And so I may use the incorrect terminology or something, but I'll just go into it. So you've heard me say time and time again that ambiguity is the enemy of storytelling, right?
Oh, I thought it was ambiguity is the mother of all invention or something like that.
Yeah, that's what she said.
What are you talking about?
No.
Oh, no, that's necessity.
Necessity.
Okay, Ernest.
Wrong quote. Wrong quote. Sorry.
Okay.
But yes, Jolie has said ambiguity is the enemy of storytelling.
Ambiguity is the enemy of storytelling, but it has proven true time and time again. And that doesn't mean, of course, that mystery is bad in a story, right? So mystery done right is awesome, and it can make a story fantastic. But too much confusion can frustrate your audience and set yourself up to fail as a storyteller if you don't give your audience enough like breadcrumb kind of aha moments along the way to make it possible to even like tie up the necessary loose ends at the story's conclusion. You follow me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So does this mean that I think that things need to be spelled out? No.
That's what people have been saying.
No, you guys, you misunderstand so much. And that, again, if you misunderstand so much, it's probably my fault. But no, I don't like things to be spelled out. If that's what you think I mean, then I apologize for leading you astray, right? Because that's not what I'm trying to get across. Spelled out means on the nose or being obvious, right? Not really requiring a lot of intellectual work from your audience. What I'm asking for is story clarity, okay? There's a big difference. Clarity means that enough of the main storyline makes sense in the way that it's presented so that audience members can go along for the ride without having to consciously pull themselves out to scratch their heads in confusion or have to start digging around and doing homework in order to find answers to things that do not make sense because they're not presented in the narrative. Okay, so maybe a better way to illustrate this is in an actual illustration, a visual example. And I'll even have some storyboards drawn up. I'll make Spencer draw them because he's the better artist out of all of it. So sorry, Spencer, you get homework after this.
It's fine. I need to remake your statue that you broke my birthday present.
And I need to. And I can't believe I broke it.
Now I need to make some storyboards.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding. Just put me to work.
Happy birthday. I broke your present and now you have a chore.
Hey, it's for you. If that's how you want to treat the gift that I gave you, it's totally fine.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
I just wonder what you're going to do with the storyboards.
I just light them on fire. You spend hours and I just take them. I'm like, thank you. Torch.
And by the way, I'll just point out while you're kind of talking about this topic that I've seen a very similar thing brought up recently on Reddit about film, like modern films that are being made. And there's still also a debate about on the nose versus ambiguity.
I know what Ernest is talking about. He's talking about the attention economy where Netflix shows are purposely written so people can just tune out.
They're written to an algorithm.
Yeah, but they can tune out on their phone and scroll and then they're like, we're going to explain the plot to you 1,200 times. So yeah, I get what you're saying, Ernest.
Yeah.
It's applicable everywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
But let's do a visual, actual example of what it means to be on the nose versus clarity and all of that kind of thing. So Spencer will draw these storyboards, but let's hash this out the right way.
No pressure.
Okay. Okay, so you got to bear with me here. Let's imagine that we are a storyteller, a visual storyteller, and we'll say a filmmaker or a game developer or TV producer, whatever, because those are all visual mediums and we want to use storyboards. Now, let's say that we want to tell the self-contained story, a smaller story. It can be within a larger movie or a larger game or whatever, but this self-contained story of a man. Actually, this is a Final Fantasy podcast, so just for fun, let's make the man Cloud.
Okay.
Make Spencer draw Cloud. Have fun with the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the 3 trilogies' actual story, but let's just say Cloud for fun.
Yeah, this is more of a thought experiment.
Yes. Yeah. So let's say that this story involves him desperately crawling through some vast desert, parched and desperate for water. And I'm being dramatic here, and he doesn't know if he'll ever reach, we'll say he needs to get to some distant village, right, in order to get water. And it's really hot and he's really thirsty and he's alone. And let's say that he just collapses and he's just laying there in the sand and he utters a prayer to the planet to send him water.
Sounds just like Cloud's character.
Okay, just bear with me. So let's say that's the setting of our scene, right? So now let's say that we want to show Cloud having his prayer answered. I'm just making this stuff up, by the way. This is just a story sequence of events to illustrate a point. So let's say that we want Cloud to have his prayer answered by some miraculous spring of water that appears. And he's able to reach the spring, drink all the water he wants, and then he makes it to the village he was trying to get to. So this is our story sequence, right? Then after that, the rest of the game or the movie or whatever can continue on. I would argue that an effective and simple option for telling this story visually would be to first show Cloud desperately crawling through the hot desert. He's parched. He's alone. He's desperate. You could do even some like cool wide shots or like drone shots, even like from above, like directly down if you want to like illustrate the vastness of the desert, and then go in for like closer shots that show the desperation on Cloud's face and in his movements, where we're then close enough to like hear his gasping breaths, right? Like this is kind of the series I see in my mind.
Yeah, you're establishing the stakes.
Establishing the scene and then going in to really connect with the character, right? And then we see him maybe so desperate, like collapsed on the ground, that he utters his prayer. And then our camera can show him somehow, you guys, gather enough strength to crawl slowly forward just a few more inches. And then he raises his head with the last bit of strength he has, and he looks ahead of him. And then we see a close-up of his face, seeing something amazing in front of him. And then I would cut the camera to a point of view shot. Remember POVs? We've talked about those in this podcast.
Oh, we've talked about them.
A point of view shot from his perspective of a luscious, like miraculous spring of crystal blue water ahead where only sand had been before.
We call that a mirage.
Okay, stop interpreting. We're not there yet. This is an actual spring. It's not an actual mirage with like the wavy lines that they did in like Looney Tunes cartoons. You remember that? I was like, ooh, or whatever. We're saying like a spring appears and his point of view sees it, right? And then I would cut back to his face. That's how you do a point of view shot. You got to show their face, show what they're looking at, cut back to their face, right? So you cut back to the shot of his face and he's looking on in amazement, maybe even a little bit of gratitude, like he's relieved that he sees something that can save him. And then I would just cut or fade into a bustling village where Cloud walks in normally, like content and determined to continue his mission. So if we know that the spring was real, that series of shots, right? The jump cut tells you what?
That he survived.
He survived, that he got a drink of water and then he's fine. He was able to continue his mission. So do you see how in a sequence of visual shots, we just told a very simple story without having to use any words? I mean, other than like maybe a few words in his prayer to the planet or something like that. Like the story is not spelled out or on the nose, but is it clear? Yes, that is what I mean when I say I want clear storytelling. We may not know exactly why or how the spring appeared. It's mysterious, right? It's interesting. And we can conclude that it was most likely an answer to Cloud's prayer to the planet, right? So it's a simple sequence. But what if the story was, as you say, spelled out? Or on the nose? Well, let's talk about what a spelled out version of the same scene might look like. So going back to the beginning of our sequence with Cloud desperately crawling through the desert, only this time he mutters, water. I need water. Or even, I'm not going to survive if I don't get water. So same shots, but we're now adding in dialogue that spells things out, right? Maybe he does the cliche thing where they like takes out a water canteen and opens it and like dust comes out. You know what I'm talking about?
With a cough noise.
Yeah, exactly. Like from the canteen, like a cough noise or whatever. Yeah. So like we're doing all these little extra things to make it very clear that there's no water available. And then just like our previous example, Cloud can then utter his prayer. He looks up, and we could still see that same point of view of a miraculous fountain that appeared ahead. And then we look back at Cloud again to see his look of amazement, maybe gratitude, relief. And then we can see him gather just enough strength to maybe drag himself over to the spring. And then he reaches the spring and just starts drinking all the water he can get. And he even says, "Oh, I'm so happy to have this water. I thought I was going to die." And he drinks and he drinks. He fills up that empty canteen. He maybe wades in the water a little bit. And then once he's satisfied, he stands and he starts walking again. And we see a village in the far distance. Then we cut to the village to see Cloud enter, content and determined to continue his mission. And someone at the gate sees him enter and he says, "So you survived the desert, huh?" And Cloud replies, I did because the planet answered my prayer.
That's a good one.
So
That's my kind of storytelling.
you like it?
I was like, that second one sounds a lot like an anime.
You're going to upset the anime fans. Be careful.
Anime's got good storytelling.
No harm, no foul.
It makes me laugh because this is spelling everything out in a story. Is it clear? Sure.
Very.
But is it good? No, it's lazy, it's boring, it's unintelligent, and it requires only the smallest bit of brain power from its audience. There's no subtext, there's no visual implications, there's no creative intercuts or editing.
It's a Netflix show.
Yeah, Netflix show.
Maybe under the definition you're talking about,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. But it doesn't trust its audience, right, beyond like a kindergarten level. So if you're making like a kid's cartoon, you could do something like this, but for an adult, it doesn't really work. I do not like this kind of storytelling. I do not like it, Sam I am. I think that spelled out storytelling is lame. And I don't like when any story, including Final Fantasy, does it. Now, that's two different versions, but we do have one third. Let's consider the same story sequence, but this time done with ambiguity. What does that look like? Okay, so we're going back to Cloud. We can start it out the same way, right? So he's desperately crawling in the desert. We can use the same establishing shot. So maybe we start out kind of clear, right? We're seeing him struggle. We know where he is. We can tell visually that he's extremely thirsty, right? Same stuff. The wide shot, close-ups of his desperation. He utters his prayer. And then just like before, we can see his face look up at something ahead of him. And we see that look of amazement. Then we cut directly to the village where Cloud walks in content and determined to move on with his mission. So
Sounds like the ending of 16.
I know. Oh, man. Oh, don't get me started.
I'm kidding.
So something important to the story, obviously, if we were to do this sequence of shots, was missing. What was it?
The Mirage.
It's not a mirage, Ernest. It's a real fountain.
A real fountain.
Or the implications of anything that could help him. It's just,
Yes.
you're leaving it up to the audience to fill in everything.
We're leaving it up to the audience
Yeah.
to guess what happened, right? So
Right.
the simple point of view shot of that miraculous spring, that's really the only thing
Yeah.
we left out in this particular sequence that was extremely important, right? We never saw it. We never saw the spring. So all the audience knows is that Cloud was desperately thirsty and about to perish, but then he sees something ahead and then he's fine. And the story continues as if the stakes were never really high at all. And this may seem like an extreme example, like it may seem extreme that like we didn't see the fountain, but this is exactly parallel to some of the confusion in Rebirth. And those who easily forgive storytellers for almost anything will say, well, obviously something happened and the story was told this way for a reason. Sorry if that's you guys out there. I'm not trying to mock like your voice or anything.
No, but you're making a good point because a lot of times people will come in and they fill in the holes with like whatever
They fill in the holes.
their fiction is, right?
Exactly.
But then it just becomes this debate whether or not
Right.
this happens or this happens.
Because it wasn't clear.
Sure. And I know that the writers want it to be mysterious to a certain point, but you lose people if you go too far, right?
That's exactly my point. So people who will forgive the storytellers of anything, well, these are the kind of people who might even go online and research a map of that area and maybe read deeper lore about like how a magical spring has been known to appear at random times in the spot right around Cloud in that desert. So that must be what he saw and drank from. And to these kinds of people doing this kinds of research, that's a fun task for them. And that's cool if anybody out there is that kind of person.
Well, basically, if you like ChatGPT, right? Because that's what you're mapping the whole area to go find all the springs in it. So, like, that's your thing. You do it in the real world about the story.
Yeah, the people who are going to like an LLM or Googling or on Reddit or some Discord group or forums or X or whatever.
I mean, Reddit's where all the
Or they're reading the Ultimania, which is sanctioned by the developers as
Right.
to like what their thought processes were.
And that's really fun and really cool, especially though for the extra stuff, the deeper elements. But when it comes to core plot,
like the main storyline.
it's a problem
Yeah.
if you make people do that because normies who just want a story to be self-contained are going to be confused, they're going to be frustrated, and they are now, if they're playing a game like this, they're now aware of the room that they're sitting in and that their arm is asleep. And as more and more ambiguous moments like that happen in the story where key clarity is left out and never revisited for answers, this particular audience, which I hate to tell you, but it's the majority of gamers out there, right? They start to care less and less about what happens next until they're no longer invested at all. And if we tell these casual players, yeah, but it was obvious, or on page 34 of book blah, 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 it clearly mentions the magical spring, they think we're crazy people. Because it's kind of crazy to tell people watching a story that they need to go online and turn this into a research project, right? But what if this is a remake of a previous game or film, the sequence that we just talked about in the desert, right? Let's say that it's a remake from something, right? The same thing applies here, right? If the people creating this story are telling people to watch it without having to watch the original version, then they need to make everything clear, independent of the original version.
Yes.
Nods to the original are a bonus. They can't be essential to basic story clarity. Because, I mean, think about it. So I just presented 3 versions of storytelling to you, right? A clear and simple version, a spelled out on the nose version, and an ambiguous version. 2 versions are bad. Both the spelled out version and the ambiguous version. But if you had to say one of them was worse, then which one do you think it would be?
I think that's a very personal thing.
No, it's not. Ernest, stop. You're missing it. You are the person who needs to hear this.
Well, no, I'm saying because like some people might need the on the nose for various reasons, and other people, they'll go and make up something about the ambiguous one. So
yes, but I'm talking about a normie gamer, like your average audience member, right? So, okay, to a casual average audience member, the worst is of course, I'm going to say the ambiguous version.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's something that they can't get past. A casual audience can roll their eyes at on-the-nose dialogue and spelled out sequencing. You can roll your eyes at it, but then
which we have.
Yeah, which we have. And then you can forget about it and you can move on, right? But
no, I would actually agree with you 100% on that.
Okay, cool.
I think that the worst of the two in that case is the ambiguous one.
Okay, cool. So we're on the same wavelength there. That's good.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what I'm saying is that if there's something ambiguous or big chunks of the story clarity, or even like it could be, again, as simple as one shot, right? If something like that is left out, then that casual like audience member cannot move on, right? If they don't think that they know what's going on anymore. And if you do that repeatedly and you're leaving little things out more and more, they might be more forgiving up front, thinking that they're going to have their questions answered. But eventually they're just going to be like, I don't care about this anymore. This doesn't make any sense. And I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, there are a lot of ambiguous and confusing moments for a normal casual gamer who isn't willing to give as much credit to the developers as some of the biggest fans are.
Yeah.
And that's the ambiguity that I'm criticizing. I love that this series has fans. I am clearly one of them. Look at the shelves behind me, right? And because I am a fan, I worry the series will die if too much ambiguity chases people away, aside from like a niche audience, right? And a lot of the niche audience is watching us right now, and that's totally cool. I love that they're here. I love that you're here. You guys are awesome. I'm trying to defend the series from a wider perspective because we want these games to continue to be made, and they have to make money and be good in the story category to get to that point. So when I say that something needs to be clear in storytelling, I'm not talking about spelling it out. Spelling it out is dumb. Clarity in the narrative is good. And maybe I mixed up my terms in the past during like spur of the moment discussions. So again, my bad if I was confusing or ambiguous myself. So allow me to spell it out for all of you, or at least hopefully provide some kind of clarity. And one final thing that I'll say on this, and then we can get into the chapter. When we talk about the self-contained story of Final Fantasy VII Retrilogy, sometimes I purposefully do not pursue external explainer content for ambiguous story elements because I don't think the developers should have that crutch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about like Red, and why his voice changed, right? And Ernest, you had done some extra research. Like, am I intelligent enough to come up with good explanations of why things are happening in a story? Or like what B was when A moved to C, without mentioning what B was? Like, hopefully you don't think of a stupid person, right? Like, instead, I often choose not to do that kind of research because I want to hold Final Fantasy to the high standard of storytelling that they're capable of reaching because I believe in these people. I love these games. And because I love them, I want them to be the best that they can be, right? External lore as bonus content, totally awesome. External lore as essential story elements to understand the main narrative, not so awesome. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. I think it's interesting because there's such a big culture around gaming as like learning the lore and understanding the worlds that creators have built. So in your example of the desert or whatever, in the Ambiguous example, you see Cloud and he never sees his redemption, even the hope that gives the audience, right? And then they just go on. And so the internet has created like this realm for people who thrive in this area. And they're like, well, that was in the desert of Shangri-La. And those were like, if you read the Ultimania, there have been known to appear like things from the Lifestream or whatever, right? And then they can justify it because then they have like this like aha moment because they're super fans, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it makes sense in their minds and they're like, well, yeah. And then there's the people like me, and I'm not saying I'm super smart or I understand everything. I am like the casual gamer. I'm wearing my N7 jacket today.
Yeah,
I'm like a
Mass Effect.
Shout out Mass Effect or whatever. But like I play all sorts of different games, right? Like I'm new to the Final Fantasy series. I'm having a great time coming along and learning with you guys. But I have issues with the story so far. I've expressed a lot of those things up until this point. And so when you have this ambiguous re-trilogy that some people online are arguing is a sequel to the original, and other people are saying, well, no, it's the original. It's just a retelling of those stories. Like someone like me who doesn't know any would never assume that it's a sequel because I've never played the original, or those that say it's the same, but it's just retelling. I'm still confused. To me, it seems like this game is made for people who have played the original. That's just my opinion because I feel like they're riding so much on nostalgia and that lore of the world to get things across, right? That's why we had that whole conversation of Cait Sith where he kind of has to tell me, the writers are like, we're not doing a very good job of telling, the story of Sephiroth and how this is working, so we just have to have this clunky dialogue moment.
Have this random dialogue in the cave.
Cait Sith remind people and say, oh, you know what? What's Sephiroth's big deal? Isn't he dead? Like, why are we chasing him? Oh, okay, let's get back on track.
You said old Sephiroth's come back from the dead, right? And that's a bad thing. So, what I want to know is, how'd he do it? And what's he after?
He wants to save the planet.
But wouldn't that make him a good guy?
It's not what he's doing, but how. He doesn't give a shit if everyone dies in the process.
Sounds like a total nutter.
But I like the people that go on and they do know the lore and that they do know that there are actual life springs that appear out of nowhere in the desert of whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
Because those people in your less ambiguous one, just the shot of Cloud seeing that, for someone like me, casual gamer, gives me enough context to move on and be like, okay, but then they can still have their fun and be like, well, yeah, that's a nod to the lore of the desert that those things actually happen. And,
No, I would agree with overall what you're saying, Jolie, here, that this is one of those where in the last couple of, 6 months or a year, I've learned a lot more about like speaking to your audience and understanding where your audience is. And I feel like Square has a very tough time here because they're trying to speak to two audiences at the same time.
Yes, I totally do agree with that.
Those who have been here since the beginning and the new ones. And I think the publishing side of the house or whatever knows that they've got to speak to a broader audience overall for the franchise to keep growing and to be successful. But they also have to keep, the gratuitous fan service in place to keep the people who played the original coming along. And I also think that thinking about a lot of trilogies, not just game trilogies, but even movie trilogies, the second one always has the most amount of trouble because if you don't make all three like a self-contained story and then the third one kind of wraps it all together, then you end up with this problem where the middle one is kind of I don't really know what's going on or where it's going. The writers know what the end is going to be. Mm-hmm. Maybe they buttoned up the first part, but I think that's what's happening here is that this should have been planned out as to three cohesive stories that were told in sequence. and kind of had their wrap-up moments. And then at the very end of the third, they kind of put it all together.
Instead of just like asking questions, and then trying to tie them up at the end is what you're saying?
Yeah, because if you made each one a cohesive story, like a bubble.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
And then the last one, the bubble was a little bigger.
Yeah.
I think that would make it easier for the writers. But I think they're stuck in the middle because they're trying to write to two ends of the story that they know about ahead of time, as well as two different audiences. And you end up with a very thin product at the end.
Right. I mean, it is possible to do it right. There's plenty of trilogies we know that but it only happens when they write out the script or at least the basic outline of all three at the same time, right? And then it works because then it's like each one's a self-contained story, but there's still like this greater narrative from beginning to end at the same time. And it's hard to do. It's not like an easy thing.
Right.
But in a world where you have as much money and power as a company like Square Enix, can they not find like one person to help them with that? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, there's not really an excuse for doing it. And it's like, okay, going back to Spencer and I call them Ernestisms.
Which one?
Because there are certain things that you say in many episodes, and we love when you bring them up. One of those Ernestisms is lenticular design, but it's actually something that's very applicable here, right? Lenticular design is when you're building in various different levels, right? So for the people who want to search for stuff and really ponder on things, they're satisfied, but then people who just want to play the basic narrative. As far as, I actually don't know lenticular design super well, other than like what we've discussed here. So if I'm getting it wrong, tell me. But to me, it seems like the error that's being made here isn't in that upper, like for the researcher, like deep dive lorehead person. It's the base layer, right?
Yeah.
The base layer needs to be clear. And again, not on the nose, not spelled out, just clear. There has to be something that ties it all together.
Yeah, this doesn't mean that the audience isn't challenged.
Right. You want to challenge the audience.
We're not saying go to the Netflix model and just say scroll on your phone and then just make sure that the normies, that the casuals understand what's going on. Like, obviously, they're doing something that's really tricky to pull off because you have examples like, Resident Evil series is out right now and it's very popular and they're remaking a lot of their old games and they make changes to those games, but most of like the narrative beats are just the same. They're not doing a whole thing where they're introducing plot whisper ghosts that come and change the fate and they tease us with this whole new potential future. And then the second game, they're not really doing that, but then they are.
And then they change the purpose and the rules.
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, they're swinging hard. The thing is, like, when you do something crazy like this, you might not get it right. And so I'm nervous that part 3 is going to struggle, right? We've voiced this concern before, but they're really going for something here. They could have just played it easy and done just beat for beat,
remake.
Not had any plot whispered, followed the events of the game sequentially, and then just had prettier graphics and maybe a few tweaks here and there to like modernize some of the scenes. But they didn't do that. They firmly stuck their flag in the ground and said, we're doing something different. So to me, it's like, okay, well, you're swinging, but you got to bring along the new people like me. Because right now I feel like we're going to do something crazy for like the OG players. And then for me, who doesn't know any better, everyone's telling me like, oh, this is different. Something's changing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the game that I'm playing. It's just the game, right? This isn't, but they're like, no, those weren't in the original. This is totally different. And then you have people saying no, but they're just doing the original and it's going to be different. So anyway.
You're exactly right. My concern for the third part is that there really is no middle ground at this point.
Yeah.
Right? It's either going to be a smashing success or it's going to fall on its face.
I know. I do think you're right on that. And I'm hopeful, but I'm terrified for them.
I'm hopeful, obviously, because I want the franchise to do well and to succeed.
Totally.
It's my favorite franchise, literally.
Yeah, same.
But I'm concerned here that, like Spencer's saying, like they could have taken the easy route. They could have gone right down the middle the entire way.
Yeah.
And that would have been okay to probably a lot of people. But they took a risk here and it's looking kind of thin. And I'm concerned that when we get into part 3, like you kind of only have 2 ways this is going to come out. It's either going to be great or be bad.
And I feel like it's because they're not really committing one way or the other that they're causing a lot of this ambiguity. Because if it had just been, I mean, there was ambiguity in the original game too, but like we were much more forgiving of that for various reasons we could get into, but we don't have time. But because they're adding in these extra elements like the whispers and Sephiroth from the beginning, they're doing that because they want people who suspect this is a actual remake to think twice and be like, oh, maybe it's not, right? But then they want newcomers to also understand. It's just they've kind of put themselves in a difficult position. But it is possible to do it right. It's just Rebirth kind of flounders a bit in those areas.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. I mean, everyone knows that there were only 3 Halos made. Everything, like nothing else existed after that. So a great example.
That's a joke, Jolie.
Yeah, I thank you.
There are other Halos.
I figured. I know. I am not a Halo player. I suck at first-person shooters. I'm
Jolie
so bad.
hasn't played Halo, so
But I figured that was the case.
Yeah, but no, but I think about other trilogies. Like I think about the Matrix trilogy, right?
That's an Ernestism. It's an Ernestism,
Well, yeah, it is.
you guys.
But the first one was the best one, and then the other 2 were whatever. And then I think of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like Peter Jackson's adaptation of it, and like the second one was actually the good one of the 3.
Oh, they're all good.
Well, they're all good, but I'm saying like the second one was the
second one is good.
The strongest one, right? Because the Battle of Helm's Deep, like there's no other scene like that anywhere. I don't think anybody's...
Right, and the third one drags on a little bit too much.
Yeah.
It drags on.
They're all wonderful, yeah.
And there's 10 endings.
Yeah.
And then it does a Final Fantasy 16 ending at the end too. It's
No,
like...
No, they wrap everything up in the ending of Lord of the Rings in the third one. They do it actually too much. Like it's too many endings.
Yeah.
There's no resolution in 16. They're not comparable to me.
My point is like the ending was anticlimactic compared to the Battle for Helm's Deep. And generally speaking, with the exception of the Lord of the Rings, I feel like most of them, the middle one is the weak one. Whereas with Lord of the Rings, it was the opposite. That was the strongest one.
Well, people would argue that like Empire Strikes Back is like the best Star Wars, and that's the middle one. But yeah, I agree. Like the problem is because the middle one can't resolve the story, but it can't start it either.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's the most challenging.
It is the most challenging for sure.
Right.
And I do think Rebirth, I mean, we'll see. To be clear, just to the audience as well, I think it's super ballsy and super awesome that Square Enix took this risk. I just don't think, like what we say a lot, they're executing as well as they could be.
But maybe they'll knock it out in the third.
But I'm still excited. Yeah, I'm still excited for part 3. I'm really excited to see what they do, and I'm desperate for answers and understanding because I feel like Cloud right now, and I'm thirsting and going in this
you're in the desert
desert and I'm just like looking for that spring and it's not there for me yet, right? And I'm not getting any glances of it, and I hope I don't just teleport to a city and say everything's fine, right? Like I need more than that.
Right. Well, anyway, thank you for hearing me out. Hopefully that cleared up a little of what I've been thinking along the way. But should we get into chapter 10?
Yeah.
All right. So same spoiler warning as every episode. While we will be spoiling Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we will only be doing so up through the end of chapter 10, just in case there are latecomers who have started listening as they play. And if so, welcome aboard. We're hoping we get some Switch 2 people pretty soon here. And then as far as our last discussion went, our last discussion, you guys, we pretty much spent the entire last discussion talking about a single minute of this game.
Hey, guys, it's me. I'm back!
It was a very important minute.
It was, but needless to say, we didn't get very far.
There was a death in the family.
There was a death in the family. There really was. See, I've convinced you, though. This is good.
You did.
That's exactly how I feel, honestly. Like, all we did, though, in that whole discussion was we crossed the bridge at the entrance of Cosmo Canyon, and then we witnessed Red turn into Sonic the Hedgehog, and then we had some very strong feelings about that, which we then hashed out for the entire episode. So if you agreed with our opinions, then yay, and if you didn't, you're banned from watching the show.
You're banned.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We welcome all opinions and perspectives here and are advocates of this thing we call critical thinking.
Yeah, I like when people disagree.
I agree, yeah. I agree that I enjoy the disagreement.
Yes.
That said, it is probably a good idea to move on from that subject as we get into things today. And we haven't even technically really gone into the town yet. So Red, who is now apparently Nanaki, has told the guard...
You can let them through. They're good people. I promise.
And then he scampers off to talk to some guy by the name of Bugenhagen. That's what we know, right? And that's from the OG. He scampers off kind of the same way. So they were being true there. And then from there, the guards step forward and they block us from entering.
Real quick. Gotta check something.
An airship dropped these on us this morning.
By the way, I didn't see the airship. Weren't we there that morning? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever. We're not going into that. He holds up a poster that we can only see from the back, right? And the guard says,
Wanted posters of the terrorists who bombed those reactors.
and then immediately Cloud and the party look concerned because they know that their faces are on wanted posters that have pretty much been haunting them on their journey, like back in Under Junon with the mayor. You remember she had a wanted poster, and then in the Gold Saucer with Dio. Although both of them ultimately ended up looking the other way about them, but the wanted posters did have their faces on them right then. So if this stranger who doesn't know them recognizes their picture, then they obviously won't be able to enter the village. But instead of forbidding them entry, the guards look at the poster, look at each other, nod, and say,
But I think we can say you had nothing to do with all that.
and that pleasantly surprises Cloud. And the guard then goes on to say,
Even if Nanaki hadn't vouched for you, it's obvious.
and then he turns the poster around, right? This is the reveal for the audience. And he holds it up for the party to see, and we get a good look at the Avalanche poster that we're familiar with, except the images of Barrett, Cloud, and Tifa look like totally different people. How could this be? Except we know how this could be, right?
This is an example of giving us enough context to understand, but not spelling it on the nose, right? Because we know that there's somebody working through Shinra. We assume that it might be Cait Sith or whatever, right? So, like, if they hadn't revealed the poster, they're like, they look at it, looks like you're good. And then just move on. Obviously, they give us enough context.
Yeah. And I mean, even then, not turning the poster around.
Right, because he's still like...
I think it probably still would have made sense.
Yeah.
Because we saw what was happening with Reeve right back happily humming in his office at that one point.
Sure.
So even then, but like if we hadn't seen that Reeve scene and then they hadn't shown the poster, or if they showed the poster but we hadn't seen the Reeve, there are ways to make this really ambiguous. So this is a moment where it's like, okay, it's clear what's happening.
Yeah.
Just for me, I'm like, obviously I understand what's happening.
Right. But then there's also mystery because we don't know why it happened.
Right.
Like, we don't know why. So there's still mystery in it, too. So this isn't like a bad moment. It's a little bit on the nose, but it's not bad.
Yeah, but can we talk about the actual pictures, though, of each of them that were on that wanted poster?
What do you want to say about the pictures, Ernest?
They were so funny. You know, to me, when I saw them, what they looked like was like bad cosplays of each one of them.
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny that however they changed or manipulated the photos, that they had to get someone that looked kind of like them.
Right.
But they just took the standard NPC models from the town and plugged them in.
Yeah.
Are they the actual models?
I'm just saying, I recognize.
It just looked like someone had done a bad cosplay.
Right. No, I get you.
Totally. You're totally right, Ernest.
They didn't take a woman with curly red hair and make her Tifa. They took a dark-haired, white-skinned woman.
Yeah, with a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, kind of thing. It was
the guard's like, you guys kind of look exactly like these guys, but not they're not you, but it looks like people are trying to be like you guys.
That's really funny.
Hilarious when I saw it. I was like, wow,
funny.
that.
Well, something you don't know about me. I have facial blindness. I can spend an entire week with one person, and then a week later, I won't recognize them.
She doesn't recognize them.
I have a problem. It's something in my brain. Look it up. Facial blindness, if you're not familiar with it. It's a real thing. So if I had been the guard, the way that I identify faces that I don't know really well is by hair color and skin color and then mathematical ways to pick their face apart. I would have looked at this poster and thought it was them and not let them enter. I would have been like, nope, this is you guys. Can't come in.
You would have known that they're different. They don't look that same.
I don't think I would have. No,
yes, you would.
I'm constantly...
If you had the picture in front of you and then they were there, you're not going to be like, oh, right, these are the same people.
No, well, only because the hair was styled different, though. It would have been like, oh, this guy doesn't have the spiky hair.
No.
It was almost like police artist sketches, but really bad ones.
Yeah.
That's a very good analogy.
And on top of all that, for Shinra to have flown all the way out here to the sticks and then drop these terrible looking posters, it's like, wow, okay.
It is very funny. I love that example of the police sketches because so often, you'll see a police sketch on the news and the news anchors are so straight faced that it doesn't even look like a human being. That is not any person who lives on this planet Earth.
Here's a picture of the real guy next to the sketch that led to his arrest.
Where's the pointy chin?
It's uncanny, Lisa.
Or even better is when it looks ambiguously like the actual news anchor that's talking about it. And
those are funny.
Yeah, there's a few clips of those.
You're looking at the picture and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's AI stuff that's making you laugh where the other like anchor looks at him like she's all nervous because he's talking about the killer and he looks just like the killer. Yeah. Hey, let's be nice to artists, okay? I'm going to be drawing some storyboards for this episode and they're going to probably look like that, okay?
They're going to look like the wanted poster version of Cloud.
Oh, that would be so funny.
They'd probably look like that if I drew them, but with Spencer drawing them, they'll...
No, I haven't drawn in years.
Well, you've already seen them, so you can judge for yourself.
Yes.
Whoa, that is one hot chick.
But because we saw Reeve back in the office, we kind of know what's going on here, right? But we don't know why it's going on.
They've got a mole of some kind.
There's still some questions, right? And then when the guard shows us the poster, so now our party's looking at it, did you notice that Cait Sith catches a glimpse of it? He's like jumping up and down to see it, and then he sees it, and he smiles and he nods with like his hands on his hips as though he's quite pleased, or quite pleased with himself. Ernest, why do you think Cait Sith would act that way?
I don't know. If I had to say on the nose, because he might have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Or at least he's in cahoots with whoever did it.
Okay, cool.
I think that's more of what's going on. I feel like more like he's an agent. And there's like somebody higher up who's purposely like putting their hand on the scale.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think back when we saw this scene, I believe that your opinion, because you don't remember the original game, right? So it was anyone's guess at that point. Your opinion was that he was told to alter the posters by Rufus Shinra. Do you still think that?
You know, I don't know if it was Rufus Shinra or not at this point. Because what I can't figure out is like, I mean, I feel like he's the nexus of this thing, right? This, I don't want to call it a mole, but a mole in Shinra. But I don't know if it's like, does it go all the way up to the top? Like, in other words, is Rufus running some kind of covert ops through him? Or is this something like Sang and his group is frontlining?
Gotcha. Like, is Sung in on it? Are the Turks in on this instead?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, because like for me, I'm new to the series, but like
You've been spoiled on it.
I've been spoiled a bit. So I appreciate this is kind of on the nose. For the people that have played the game, they're probably rolling their eyes in the back of their head.
Okay, we know.
Yeah, we know what's going on here. But for like someone that's new, right, this is a good example of them looking out for someone like me that's new. And so I'm like, okay, I get it, right? And Ernest is starting to put the dots together because he doesn't remember. So yeah.
Yeah.
But you're also finding a lot of people throughout the world and throughout the story where they either have like a current or former association with Shinra who have turned against them, and they're trying to help whoever's against Shinra, basically.
Broden or
Cisne.
Yeah, Broden, you're right.
He helps us out.
He was in Soldier, and he helped us out. Like, I love Broden. I miss Broden. That was a good voice actor.
This town and I have a history with Shinra. Who knows? Maybe this will turn out to be the worst decision I've ever made. So before I change my mind, you'd better get going.
And then a bit after the party enters the village, they quietly talk to themselves about this wanted poster.
You see that wanted poster? Pictures look nothing like us.
Must be that way for a reason.
Gotta keep on our toes.
So if Cait Sith knows anything about this, he's not volunteering that information right now. Not really sure 100% why, but it's not meant to be revealed, I guess, at this point. Because the party clearly has no idea why the posters have been changed, and they're probably racking their brains trying to figure it out. But when the village guards first find no reason to hold us back, then the guards, they like stretch out their arms and they step aside and they officially welcome us to Cosmo Canyon. And then the camera like flies into the village and it turns and gives us like a brief look up at this grand location and its windmill. And then it flies back to behind Cloud and we're able to take control and walk inside. And this is another one of those video game like drone type shots where the camera can like move in ways that just cannot easily be done on a live film set. So these kind of shots like really jump out at me every time. I spend way too much time on them, but they are so cool.
They are cool, but I'm so used to them because the camera isn't real in video games, so they can do whatever they want.
Right. So in video games, they do this all the time. Yeah. But in my world, it's like, oh my gosh, that would cost $1 million.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work right.
Anyone who's played Minecraft in creative mode knows.
Yeah. But yeah, on a live film set, you would probably need like an amazingly skilled drone operator. And then every actor and crew member would actually need to sign waivers to be within 100 feet of that drone. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
And then you have to do multiple shots. You hope you don't buzz the hair off one of the actors. And it's a whole to-do, right? But in the video game world, like you said, Spencer, it's much easier, and I love that they take advantage of it.
Yeah, they should.
Every game does. This is not a big deal to anyone but me, but I think it's so cool.
And it gives us a good perspective of Cosmo Canyon,
Well, that's
right?
exactly the point, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
Because this is something that video games can do, but then it's like, we're at this like iconic location.
Yes.
Why not show it off?
You're absolutely right. The whole point of flying the camera in like that for a moment, rather than just letting Cloud walk in right away, it's so intentional because it acts as what's called an establishing shot of the village, which is a wide shot or a series of shots that show a bigger perspective of a new location. And so it can, for one, introduce us in a grand fashion to this iconic place, and then two, orient our position within that place. That's the point of an establishing shot, right? And that's necessary because if you just stay in like a medium shot and maybe walk into the village right away, right when you get to a new location, you don't really know what your place in that world is, which is uncomfortable to the subconscious. So if you read a film script, for instance, you'll often see the words establishing shot of blah, blah, blah. And that's at the beginning of pretty much every scene. And a filmmaker knows exactly what that is. It's introducing a wide perspective, typically, like a big picture view of a new location or establishing like multiple shots. So pay attention. Anytime that we visit a new location, these establishing shots are quite common in any visual medium, as they should be. Otherwise, you're confused.
Cool.
And then that's the moment that many of us OG players were waiting for, right? This is the moment we were waiting for, where we get to step foot into the village of Cosmo Canyon for the first time. And it is quite the location. So first impressions for you guys. What did you think of Cosmo Canyon Village?
I mean, I loved it. Like, the artwork was great. The music was excellent. Like, it generally isn't a Final Fantasy thing. But the thing I like the most about it is the way they handled, like, the verticality of it.
I do like that, too, yeah.
It is in a canyon, yes. The bottom of it starts in the canyon. But then at a certain point, it passes the crest, I guess, of the canyon. And then you get to where the planetarium is on top.
Yeah, it's cool.
Right? So, like, even though you're looking at it, like, as a player, you immediately see that the map is vertical here. Right? And so you know that your job is to somehow get to the top of that thing.
I can't imagine what it's like to have played this in 1997 and then be able to like walk into Cosmo Canyon, because this wasn't what it was like, I imagine, for you guys. But this is one of Rebirth's strengths. When they made it open world and we kind of gripe about it being clunky, or, you know, we're doing a bunch of like fetch quests all over this world, the cool thing about it being open world and them actually creating Cosmo Canyon with the planetarium on top, and you have these wooden staircases that are wrapping around the canyon walls, and you have these like wooden makeshift elevators that aren't Shinra operated with Mako. It's like pulleys and levers and windmill powered.
That windmill generates energy for us. Its output pales in comparison to that of a Mako reactor, but it's more than enough for the people of the Vale. It allows us to mill grain and power our survey team's vehicles, among other things. Every day, the amount produced gets divvied up to satisfy all our needs.
You have, you know, the shops and all their decorative merchandise that they're selling, and the people doing prayers. It's just amazing.
It's a lot of handmade artisan things.
Oh, yeah.
It is, and that's part of the storytelling.
Right. It does transport you to this new location, and now I'm like, as a new player, I'm like, okay, I've heard of Cosmo Canyon. They reference it back in Sector 7 Slums. They talk about Cosmo Canyon, like the drink or whatever, and that being a real place. And it actually feels like we're going somewhere new. And it does feel like this world is alive, and that there's these places that you would go to.
I totally agree. And I mean, no location, to me at least, has been a disappointment in the Final Fantasy Trilogy.
Yeah.
Legitimately, Final Fantasy, in my opinion, kills it with the world building and location design of pretty much every one of these locations. I totally agree with you. They take such incredible pride in the details of how this place and other places look. And it's like each location is almost a sort of living and breathing place with its own personality. Like, it's so detailed and interesting. And the Cosmo Canyon Village, like Ernest was saying, it's very multi-level. It's a cliffside town, right? But it goes from the top to the bottom, which is kind of insane. And it has winding paths. It has vibrant structures crafted, as you were saying, Ernest, by the people of the Earth or the planet. To me, it feels very tribal, a bit hippie-ish,
yeah,
with like grand aesthetics, and like there's a lot of vibrant reds and oranges kind of matching the canyon feel, right? And there's a lot of wooden floors, because they're using trees, natural substances to craft things. There's arches fastened by like ropes. There's hanging banners stitched with bright diamond patterns. There's just a lot of like hanging large bead-looking decor with, to me, it's Dreamcatcher vibes. You know the Dreamcatchers that you can hang up?
Yeah. It's modeled after like a Native American.
Totally.
Yeah, it's meant to be a Native American thing.
Yeah, the songs too, right?
We grew up in Utah, and like southern Utah, that's kind of like what it's based off of, right?
It looks a lot like this.
It's very similar. And then I remember growing up and learning about the tribes that were, in our area. And it's very influenced by that. I wouldn't doubt if the developers like did some research
or came here and visited.
Right, of the local areas in Utah or Arizona.
Yeah, and the original game developers even.
Yeah, totally. We pull inspiration from real life, right? And it definitely feels that way.
But it's so cool because they can put it on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a game.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They can take like actual live planet locations from our Earth, and then they can just take them even further as far as the imagination can go, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, Cosmo Canyon, like you almost, not exactly, but you almost could take like the structure itself and kind of like juxtapose it on the Grand Canyon and it would fit.
It works.
Oh, it would fit, yeah.
That's how good the design was on this one.
It's pretty impressive, but at the same time, while it seeks inspiration from real places, it also is very unique in its own way, too. You can tell it's inspired, but it's new. It's creatively developed as well. It's so good. It's like the music.
Right.
You guys, they rock this so much. It's like mind-blowing to me.
Right, because we were talking about visuals and you bring up the music, right? Like, this is another thing that I know the OG heads are freaking out about because you hear that iconic Cosmo Canyon, theme and score, and it's like, it's just playing on loop throughout this town, but you're probably loving it because that's what you remember.
It's cool because they saved it for the village.
Yeah.
Because in the original game, you go straight into the village when you get to Cosmo Canyon, period, right? Because you're just on the world map and then you're in Cosmo Canyon. So there is no like walking around outside Cosmo Canyon music. It's just this kind of song. But in Rebirth, instead of having us hear the Cosmo Canyon Village song when we first land and walk our way on the red rock, they do the Final Fantasy VII theme, actually, Cloud's theme, like a rendition of that instead that's like twangy, right? And we go through that in the first part 1, chapter 10 discussion. But they saved this song for this moment to make it that much more impactful, right? OG fans are really excited about this. We actually have a comment from our YouTube community. The Zafari Zone, who we know, he comments on our stuff. Hey, Zafari Zone. Cosmo Canyon, he says, was one of my favorite places in the OG. So to see it beautified, the whole of the OG was butt ugly, sorry. To see it beautified was so sick. It was huge and felt like a real village, tons of NPC dialogue and stuff to look at. Music was phenomenal. I just wish they had a day and night cycle.
Oh, yeah,
That's interesting.
They kind of have a day and night cycle, but it's not actually real. Because if you just left the game on pause, it would just be day the whole time. But as you progress throughout the story, because they do the River of Lights and or whatever, it's like then it becomes nighttime there. But
it's not like Final Fantasy 15 where there's an actual day and night cycle, or many of the games, I'm sure.
Right.
Spencer's like, every game knows that, Jolie.
No. I mean, it's a modern thing that they do know.
And the thing I also like is like they're very intentional about both in the opening shot, but also as you're walking through, like you see the windmills, you see it's very obvious that this is not being run on Mako.
Right.
And that Shinra has no influence here, right? Like this is its own thing, and it's a purposeful juxtaposition against everything we've seen thus far as like from the Shinra side.
Yeah.
This is explicitly not that. and you get that.
These people respect the planet that they're living on, right? They study the planet, so they respect it. So Mako is probably a total sin to these people.
Right.
And they do show that in the visual design of this place. That is, I totally agree.
I mean, it's basically a college town, if you think about it.
How's it a college town?
Well, it's like the whole Planetology thing, right? Like people come here to learn.
Oh, I see.
It's almost like a university in a way.
Oh, like an education. Okay, like
It
an
is
educational spot. Yeah, I would think it's more like a religious education,
like a pilgrimage go to.
A pilgrimage kind of place. Yeah.
I was picturing like a bunch of like.
I was like a bunch of like
frat boys and like people getting.
No.
Yeah, but you're saying I get it. Like an educational institution rather than it. Just
right, like the whole thing revolves around the education.
I thought the same thing. I'm like sororities.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I
education.
I do not
Yeah,
understand
you're right.
where Ernest is going. Okay, gotcha.
That was Costa del Sol.
Yeah, there you go.
Hang loose!
All right, so we have another comment here. Actually, two more. Linda Lou 83 said, the music, easily one of my favorites of all time, both in the OG and in Rebirth. So big fan there.
Yeah.
And then Dinner with a Dev said, Cosmo Canyon music was one of my faves in the OG, and the updated version here was amazing. So I haven't talked to anybody or heard anybody who's ripped on this music or thought it wasn't good. It is just so good. And it is a reimagined version of the locations theme from the OG, of course, called, now the name of the theme is called Valley of the Fallen Star.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. We said it, it's obviously most inspired by Native American music with like the rhythmic percussion, the tambourine, the beautiful pan flutes, and the full like accompanying strings. And it's always interesting to think about that because, yeah, Native American culture for us as Americans, you know, those who are living in the United States, that's something we're really familiar with. This is a composer from Japan. So it's really cool to see world music inspiring these sorts of songs. And I mean, Nobuo Uematsu is just a flippin' genius. He's a genius. And he actually said this was one of his absolute favorite tracks that he composed for the original game. It was Aerith's theme, the main Final Fantasy theme, and this track that he loved the most, which is interesting. And then there's also the soft, like, observatory version of the Cosmo Canyon Village theme. Which is so serene, it's like really beautiful, and it alternates instruments that play like the primary melody between like a flute, a cello, piano. It's so good. You guys, it's so good. We'll talk about that more when we actually get to the observatory, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And then as Cloud and the party walk through the village, we do hear so many NPCs, and we hear NPCs talk about how excited they are that Nanaki is back.
Can you believe it? Nanaki's back. It's such a relief to know that he's okay.
Did you see that scar over his eye, though? I don't know what he's been through, but it must have been bad.
Still, he's home safe now, and we owe the planet a debt of gratitude for that. We should make an offering.
It's hammering home the idea that this is Nanaki's true home and that the people here know him well. And we're really immersed into the atmosphere of this busy place. And the busy place was kind of a surprise to me. And we have another comment. Red Sarge 99 said, the town is amazing with the volume of NPC dialogue, including a fellow reminiscing about Professor Gast, the legendary NPC who talks about hopes and dreams in the Lifestream. Folks talking about how Avalanche broke off from Planetology and how their methods clash. And of course, lots of tourists taking in the culture, religion, and festivities. And so, so we mentioned Professor Gast in the very introduction, and this is why I mentioned it, because this is interesting. This comment is interesting.
Is he in?
Well, here's the thing. I thought I was doing a really good job listening to the background NPCs talk in Cosmo Canyon, but I missed a ton because I don't remember hearing any references to Professor Gast. But apparently, a number of NPCs actually mention him in Cosmo Canyon.
Okay.
They talk about how Professor Gast stayed at the hotel.
On guard for my noteworthy guests, including Professor Gast himself.
and how his discoveries paved the way for the planetologist's successes.
Oh, Professor Gast, I hope you know that your legacy lives on, that your discoveries paved the way for our successes. What other scholar could ever hope to match your passion and excellence? Why did you have to leave us? Every day I strain to listen and pluck out your voice from the planet's chorus.
And how half the observatory archives are thanks to Professor Gast.
We have Professor Gast to thank for a full half of the research materials archived here.
I know, Spencer, you don't know who Professor Gast is.
Who is this guy?
And I'm not going to tell you because I really think he's going to come into play in part 3.
Okay.
And Ernest, based on a previous conversation I've had with you, you do remember who Professor Gast is. This is one of the things in the original game you do remember. So we're not going to spoil it here, but so there's a lot of references to this guy, Professor Gast, if you're...
Yeah, I only remember hearing one of them.
Okay.
I'm sure there were many other references.
Do you remember which one it was, like what they said?
I want to say it was the one about the books, like half the library being his.
I think that was up in the planetarium.
Yeah, and I remembered who he was, but I was wondering, I was like, how does that even come into play here? But
they're trying to tie it in, which is interesting.
That's good if there's foreshadowing.
Yes, it is good.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of important. But anyway, but maybe it's not. You know, depends on how they tell it in the third.
It's super important because, like, it's tracing a line of progression. At least that's what I think it's doing within Shinra, right? So, like, to Jolie's kind of example, they're giving you these little breadcrumbs, but a lot of people just aren't going to know what they are.
Yeah.
It doesn't have significance.
Yeah, I probably heard them because I walked around and tried to make it a point to stand by, like, every NPC group. Maybe they said something and I was like, I don't know who that is. And then it just like exited my mind.
Yeah, and then you just kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to somebody who's a newcomer to the series who hears that, they might actually think, oh, I need to remember that name, right?
Sure.
But the casual gamer probably isn't.
Smart people, unlike...
Well, no, you're smart. It's just
I'm kidding.
But some NPCs, a lot of NPCs talk about people totally random that don't have any significance. So sometimes it's hard to sift through who's significant and who isn't. And you could say, well, so many NPCs talk about Professor Gast. Obviously, he's important. But I'm going to be honest with you. I thought I was doing a really good job listening to all the NPCs, and I didn't hear it either.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
And I only heard it once.
I'm going to have to pull this B-roll from YouTube because I don't have any of it. Yeah, but if you haven't played any other Final Fantasy game out there other than Remake and Rebirth, this doesn't mean much to you, but it's still good, I'll say this, to pay attention to it, because if you did play the original game, you may remember, and I'll just give very basic information here so we're not spoiling anything, that Professor Gast is a minor character who plays a pretty important role in the Final Fantasy VII story. So I think they're going to have to show something. They really have to in the third installment. But I will say that he was the head of Shinra's science research department. I think they mentioned that somewhere in here anyway. So he's the head of the research department before Hojo was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
It's setting the line of progression and kind of explaining what happened there. But then you'll also have to contend with what does Bugenhagen have to do with any of that?
Yeah, like how does he fit in the story? And there are things that we're going to learn, right? But unlike Hojo, Professor Gast was a kind man. And you can gather that from the comments that you hear from NPCs. He was a kind man and he was genuinely interested in knowledge rather than power. So we'll leave it there.
Interesting.
Because there's a lot more information. But do remember that name if you aren't yet familiar with it, Professor Gast, because this likely won't be the last time that you hear it. And the developers seem to be dropping foreshadowing hints about him here in Cosmo Canyon for those who are paying close attention, which apparently wasn't me.
Or me.
So thanks, Red Sarge. I know, we suck. But thank you for pointing that out to us because that's stuff I like. I like the foreshadowing that's like optional foreshadowing. This is like kind of lenticular design at plays, I think. I need to look up lenticular design and actually like learn the definition.
But like you're getting what you put into it, right? You're getting out what you put in. So if you're going to take the time to listen to the NPCs chatter, like it's great because you're going to be picking up on all these things, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's good game design.
I totally agree. And then Red Sarge also mentions that people are also talking about how Avalanche now clashes with Planetology. There's some NPC conversation there. And I did actually hear one NPC conversation between two planetologists where they talk about how people mistake Avalanche as being associated with Planetology. But to me, And you're going to think I'm dumb for critiquing this, but the dialogue tone seemed super off from the actual words being said. It was like the writers wanted the actors to play the conversation like concerned, but the actors were never given that memo to do that. So their delivery makes it sound like they're almost proud to be mixed with Avalanche.
Avalanche wanted, dead or alive. They certainly made a name for themselves, haven't they?
For themselves and for us. In the public's eyes, Planetologists and Avalanche are one and the same.
Even so, I doubt we need to worry about Shinra up and attacking Cosmo Canyon unprovoked. Though that would complicate my research.
I don't know. It was interesting, but tonally confusing.
Well, I mean, if you talk to Barrett in the bar, he's like, man, we should have come here earlier. Maybe I can get some of them to like sign up for Avalanche.
Yeah.
So maybe the tone wasn't meant to be like a bad thing because Avalanche is like kind of eco-terrorists, but they don't see themselves that way, right? But they're like, we're going to fight for the planet, whereas Planetology is like preserve the planet, do things like, use wind power and do all this stuff. But then like Avalanche is like, we're going to take it into our own hands. But I think they come from the same root issue.
No, I agree with that. I guess I just... It was totally obtuse the way they were talking about it to where I was like, because I'm always thinking like, what are the writers and developers, like what are they trying to communicate here?
Sure.
Because I want to know like what their intent is. And in this is a small thing. And if you just take the words at their face, you're going to gather one thing. And if you just take the tone at their face, you're probably going to gather a different thing. And I would like them to merge and be the same thing,
Yeah, I read into it, admittedly, that what they were trying to do is like show you that there's this aspect of Shinra and Hojo's now in charge of that, right? Then there's it's kind of like the middle road. And then you've got Avalanche, which like is the fork off of that, which went a third way. So you've kind of got like these three now paths happening.
Like they're a little bit radical, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You've got like radical on one side, middle of the road, radical on the other side.
Yeah.
And all three are moving.
Kind of like any religion, right? Like there's always like a core and then there's different branches off. And then over time, everybody kind of started the same place, but maybe evolved into different belief structures.
And some of them get radicalized, right?
Yeah. So some of them can be radicalized. Absolutely.
And I think that's what they were trying to show here is like, you've got three different paths in the world, right? You've got the Shinra path, the Canyon path, and then you've got the Avalanche path. They're showing you the separate paths. And at some point, the three are going to converge. And that's when the story like hits like the accelerated mode because those three paths have to converge at some point.
Like face off kind of a thing or like merge with the same purpose?
Well, no, like they've each gone their own way, right? And then when we get to the third installment, when it all starts coming together, those three things come back together, right? And I want to say that Sephiroth is the intersection of those three paths down the road.
Okay. That's interesting.
I see it as factions like they all split off from like a similar thing, but then they have different ideologies. And the main motivating factor for Barrett, who's like the radical Avalanche cell leader, he wants to bring down Shinra. Like if they came from the same ideology, right? Now they're totally opposed. So
isn't that interesting too? Because that's a really interesting idea. Is how something can start from the same place and then end up completely in opposition. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. And then also for those who have played the original game, the atmosphere here in Cosmo Canyon Village and Rebirth is very different from the OGs. Much due to the sheer number of NPCs that are everywhere. I mean, that is a totally different vibe, I would say, if I may use the word vibe. In fact, we have another comment here. Lacrima Project says, as a vibe, I didn't even see that. As a vibe, Cosmo Canyon today is not as atmospheric as in the OG. Also, all these hippies walking around, OG felt like this place of balance and truth that the current world doesn't care about. Just a few people who chose to live a different way.
Interesting.
While in Rebirth, it is a massive tourist spot. Okay, so this is totally true.
Wow, so many tourists. Must be quite the festival.
The Rebirth version of Cosmo Canyon is really jam-packed with people, as we can see. NPCs everywhere. So many that there were multiple mentions of Professor Gast. I didn't hear any of those, and I talked to NPCs for hours, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I found it especially difficult to even catch every word that the background NPCs were saying because there were so many of them. There were so many of them, right? And they seem to kind of fall into three camps, like the planetologists who study or preach there, who like wear the robes. right?
Yeah, they have like the actual uniform.
Yeah, they have like the actual uniforms. And then there's like the locals who are planetology adjacent. Like they believe in the planetology practices. They're wearing like native style kind of clothing, but it's not the full on robes, right? And then of course there's the tourists who have traveled there from all over the world in pursuit of spiritual enlightenment or to be part of the River of Light ceremony or whatever. And those are the people who are wearing street clothes or business clothes. And a lot of them are like carrying luggage. So they're being really clear. These people traveled here. These people don't live there. We're seeing luggage at the beginning of the gates, the hotel, that kind of thing. But to Lacrima Project's point, this is very different from the original game's version of Cosmo Canyon. So while OG's Cosmo Canyon looks and it feels like similar to Rebirth in its initial design, like physical structure, right? It's an earthly cliffside village. It's got lots of orange, brownish hues. There's windmills spinning, like slowly from different corners. It's accompanied by that same rhythmic drum beat soundtrack. I mean, the town, though, other than those similarities, the town is nearly empty of any NPCs, right? I mean, when you're walking around outside, there are literally 3 people, which include the front gate guard who we talked to at the beginning.
But isn't that the case for most of the towns in the OG? Because they didn't, the limitations were...
Yeah, technological limitations.
We talk about technological limitations from the OG on things that like don't matter, like storytelling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this is a case where I feel like technologically they would obviously be different if they were trying to convey like, look, but if the tone was different in OG, like it wasn't this tourist place, it was just more of like this.
That's the thing.
Yeah, what were they going for in the OG? I don't know.
That's the thing. I'm not sure if the developers would have chosen to keep it that way or if they would have added more NPCs had they not been restricted by the limitations of technology. Because, I mean, we know that pretty much all the towns, like you said, in Original 7, even the ones that are supposed to be bustling, right, quote unquote.
Right. Like Calm and Junon and yeah,
they only have a few NPCs walking around them because the physical game just couldn't handle more than that. But the OG story also doesn't like ask for more NPCs. It seems intentional that Cosmo Canyon is a place where just a few dedicated appreciators of the planet live and study, like away from the rest of the world. Now,
like a monastery or like where monks go.
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly.
Instead of it being like
a welcome everyone. Like it almost seemed.
Gotcha.
I mean, they had guards at the gate, right? Like it's
right.
They're not like letting people in. It felt like it didn't feel like a place that was asking people to come seek it out in the original game. And I don't know if that's because of the technology or not, right? Because when you have limited technologies, then you have to write around those limitations. So I don't know if they would have chosen to do this differently. Now, maybe the story was written that way just for that purpose, right? To fit the technological limitations, or maybe it would have been written that way otherwise. I don't know. None of us know.
Oh, see, this is where they're between a rock and a hard place because they're having to appeal to the memory and the nostalgia of the OG players who are like, I remembered it this way.
Right.
But what if like the developers were like, we really wanted to do it this way and now we can, right? So to me as a new player, like I don't have any stake in whether it's more like some secluded monks who separated themselves, you know, to study the planet, or if it's like this, you know, bustling tourist location with lots of commercial opportunities on top of the religion or something. But it's just interesting because this is the needle they have to thread, and it's always going to be a little bit of an issue.
It's going to be challenging.
People are bringing their baggage with them for, you know, what they expect for the OG.
Because when you get down to it, it is a totally different vibe than Rebirth. I mean,
interesting.
And and if you loved that serene feeling,
it's not the same
of the town in the OG, then it would make sense that you might not be a fan of this different feeling that Rebirth has here. And I tend to be somebody who I just want the better thing. I love the original game, but I am not. Like, there are people on the internet who say the original game is perfect. Everything should be just like the original game. So when anything strays, they freak out. I'm not that person because the original game did a lot of things right, but sometimes it's better to change it. And I'm in favor of the better, right? But that's a topic that keeps coming up time and time again.
And I agree. I'm sure there's a lot of this that was just limitations of the technology in 7 that they're making up for in this remake trilogy. But I also think that, like you said, there are some choices that have been made that for someone who is a mega fan of the original, they may not be a fan of because they don't want it to change.
Right.
And I played the original. I don't remember all of it. I remember major parts of it and some little random things here and there too.
Do you remember how isolated this village was? Do you remember?
I remember it being that way, but I don't remember getting the impression that it was like a monastery or that type of thing.
Okay.
Where they had like secluded themselves.
But I do remember getting the impression of like this was meant to be a place of like peace and lack of technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That kind of a thing. And I still got that from this environment, but to your point, there were so many people there. The problem wasn't that they deviated from the theme of the environment. There were just a lot of people.
There's so many people. Yeah. Well, so obviously I played the original game a few times, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't have a problem with the number of people, although I will touch on the awkwardness of some of them in a minute. I think the addition of all the tourists seeking enlightenment was actually a really interesting choice. I thought it was fascinating. I wasn't married to the quiet serenity of the OG, but it is definitely different. So if you really liked that, then it makes total sense to me why you're not jiving with this. But I do actually think that the developers, on top of like this bustling town, they do give us both. Because if you go up to the observatory elevator, suddenly there are very few NPCs at all. And then not only that, like the heavy music melts away to just the sound of the wind.
That's cool.
Hitting the cliff walls way up there. And that leaves like the feeling of serenity and connection to nature that was in the original game. It's just only in part of the village, not the whole village itself.
Right.
And to be honest, too, I wonder if we're going to be going back to Cosmo Canyon in part 3 once the River of Lights tourists have all traveled back home. Because it seems like they're all there for this main event, or at least most of them are. So we might even see it in that more serene, emptier state in the future, possibly.
Interesting.
So here in Rebirth, I thought the NPCs were really interesting, and there were so many different conversations that told so many different stories. And, oh, did you notice the band?
I noticed the choir.
You have to notice the band, you guys. There's a band in every location. You need
I know,
to
you always say
it.
that.
Okay, so just like the other locations.
Were they at like the entrance?
Yeah, it kind of toward the entrance. Like you walk in a little bit and you see like people praying, and there's like a band right there, just like all the other towns across the game, right? And this one has somebody playing like a drum, a flute, a guitar, and a tambourine, which is a perfect fit. It's always a pretty good fit for that particular location.
Yeah.
Although the tambourine guy is playing is so blatantly off the beat of the tambourine sound, which
that's a bummer. Animator.
it's hilarious. Like, I mean, none of them are really like playing along well with the soundtrack, like ever, but this one was especially noticeable.
Come get a talisman infused with the powers of the planet.
That's so funny because it just shows what's important to you, Jolie. Because when I go into the town, I hardly ever notice this. I noticed the ones in Calm, and I would not have noticed the ones in Junon that you talked about, or the Gungaga ones, but you're like, the band!
I love the band!
I like that you point these out.
Yeah, I'm probably the person who notices them the most. It's like, I just think it's great.
But it's cool they have something for everyone, because I do think that people notice them, and I think a lot of people just skip past it.
Yeah, and they definitely leaned into like the mysticism aspect of this too, right? Because I know that like when you think about locations that are tied to like ancient cultures and ancient religions, there's like a mysticism aspect to it too.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's what the tourists are trying to bring here, but I feel like that was their intention here.
I actually thought kind of along the same lines, and I wanted to talk about this. And this is probably something you're not going to hear from like a typical gaming journalist or anything like that. But when we first got to Cosmo Canyon, I was really curious and even like a bit skeptical even about how the developers were going to portray, quote, religious people, right? Because that's what Planetology really is in this game. It's a religion. It's a faith, right? Would you agree?
I think so.
You know, I looked at it as more of a educational thing. But I can absolutely see that aspect of it because, again, people were dressed a certain way. There was that part where, like, there's this inner sanctum that you cannot go into unless you're invited in by the scholars or the practitioners of the religion, if you want to call it that. So I guess it could be both, right? And maybe that's the intention here, that it is both. There's, like, a religious or mysticism aspect to it, and then there's the scholarly aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think that most religions have the scholarly aspect, right? For those who want to seek it. So that's why it was, to me, a religion. They have a lot of the same kind of language, a lot of the same robes. I'll point out some of that here, but to me, it was very clearly a religion. And also, the planet and how they reference the planet is kind of like how we in our world, in real life, would reference God.
With boundless love for her children, she serves as both cradle and crucible.
Another thing is you see these people preaching the word of planetology across the world before we even get here.
Yeah.
Heed the voice of our great mother. Hear how she weeps, how she suffers, how she cries out, even now, for deliverance from pain.
And it's clearly like a preacher and preachees, or like an audience interested in the preaching, who are listening to them, right?
Join in our righteous chorus for our mother's sake and for ours. For what we do for the planet, we do for ourselves.
So they're setting it up as a religion in that way, too, before you get here.
Well, they literally have people at the entrance of Cosmo Canyon, people going out. They say, like, on patrol, but it's like they've got luggage. Like, they're going to go out, and we've seen them in the towns, right?
Yeah.
Before, so it's like they're going to go out and, like, proselytize to these people.
Right.
And they say that there's this debate, if you listen to some of the NPCs, and maybe you'll get to this, but there's a part where they say, like, is it better to be out preaching and talking about the benefits of planetology, or should we just be trying to work on ourselves, kind of a thing, and become more in tune with the planet, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely getting the religious vibes and message that they're going for here.
I was too. And so I wanted to see how that would be portrayed. And maybe this is like an annoying thing to even talk about, or like dumb to some people.
No, I think it's interesting.
I wanted to know, like, how are they going to portray religious people? Like, what are the developers going to do? And the reason that I was wondering this is, I mean, something you may not know about Spencer and I, like, we both practice religion, right? And because I'm a person of faith, I'm going to be honest with you, I find my eyes rolling out of my head and onto the floor so often when I watch, like, the way that Hollywood generally portrays religious people, quote, religious people, right? In movies or TV or games or whatever. And I found this to totally be the case, too, when I was working in actual Hollywood, right?
You have, like, this chip on your shoulder.
Maybe, yeah, maybe a little
well,
bit.
No, but you're being honest, because, like, you're, like, a religious person. You always have been.
It's hard to be a religious person in Hollywood. And just because I saw so many misrepresentations of people like me who are just normies who just happen to practice our religion, right? Because the way that pop culture tends to represent religious people is like, it's kind of hilarious, actually. Like, it's very rare that religious people are represented just as like normal humans who have normal families and believe in God and live regular lives in society and play like a standard supporting role, right? Like, that's not really ever the case in Hollywood or pop culture, right? If a person is religious in film, usually the fact that they're religious is a plot point in the story, right? It's not, and it's not usually...
It has to be everything about the person. It's like their entire identity.
Right. And a lot of times it's not a plot point in a positive light, to be honest, too, which is kind of lame. Yes, there are times where it totally makes sense, but it's not balanced, right? There are a lot of religious people, I would say, in this world, definitely in the United States, who are just normal people. And so, okay, so really quick, some of the stereotypes that we see of religious people are like, okay, one stereotype would be maybe the intolerant preacher who's like super judgmental and condemns everyone else's lifestyle, right? Who's usually a villain who usually fights the protagonist. That's one trope that we see. There's also the trope of like the secretly faithless hypocrite leader, right? That's another trope, like the corrupt priest or the corrupt bishop or something who preaches goodwill, but is actually like a greedy butt face.
Yeah, they're using the religion to like gain power or whatever. Yeah.
They could even be like an atheist, like they don't believe it at all. They're usually using religion as a tool for power or personal gain or something like that. There's also like the uneducated redneck who believes in God because he's an idiot. Like there's that one.
That's a very American stereotype.
yeah, it is. There's also like, what else is there? Oh, there's like the killjoy Puritan type person, right? Like in Footloose, who sucks all the fun out of everything, like banning dancing. No dancing. Yeah, exactly. Who basically like represents repression. And this is also the category that Angela in The Office fits in combination with like being a hypocrite, right? So she's definitely in this category. I mean, think about it. Like the rudest, most un-Christ-like person who cheats on her fiance is the one who wears a cross in that show.
Yeah, that is true.
As much as I love The Office, I love The Office. But like this is just the trope that I see all the time, right? And then there's also like the emotionally desperate people or conspiracy theorists who are gullible enough to believe every teaching, which is why they fall into religion. And there's like also the flat-out weirdo, like cultists. The cultists is a common one too, who are a little too zealous in their beliefs to fit into like a standard society. And I know I can just think of what Ernest is thinking. Well, these people really do exist. Yes, they do. Yes, these themes exist. All of this exists.
Well, I mean, it's like anything else on the news cycle, right? I remember one time I heard somebody, this was many years ago, somebody said, the news rarely talks about the good things that happen in the world. Rarely do you hear about the good things that people do or just the good aspects of humanity. What sells the 24-hour news cycle is always the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that same stuff is going to sell in Hollywood. And also, if you think about it from a storytelling perspective, right, it's a lot easier to tell the story about, you mentioned one specific trope, right, which is the individual who doesn't believe any of it, but is using it all just to wield power over people that do. That exists in modern day in many different places in this world, right? And so it's easy for people to take that thing and put it front and center versus let's go tell a story about this group of people that's doing good things in the world. That doesn't sell.
I agree with you. I agree that it is easier to sell and all that things. And there is a dark side of religion, like for people who go extreme. There are wars that have been fought, murders have been committed, all of this stuff in the name of religion, and all that stuff is legit. It happens, and that's crappy. I'm just saying, like, it's just a little unbalanced in the representation in Hollywood, and that's hard for somebody who's a normie religious person.
I think that has been the representation of some people in media, but in my mind, it's like we're going to a designated religious place in the game. So I expect to see
religious people.
Right. So it's like you're wondering how they're going to portray them. Because a normie gamer in normal life, right, when I'm just going about my day, like the grocery store, I don't want him to be like, wow, he believes in that. You know, it's like,
right.
But when you go to Cosmo Canyon, you're going to be like, obviously, you believe in planetology because it's the birthplace or.
It's pointing out the planetology. Yes.
Or wherever.
And that's a really fair point. And I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Maybe I just had my guard up a little bit. I'm like, how are you gonna do this, you guys?
That's what I'm saying. Chip on your shoulder, because
of my time in Hollywood, right? You know, but it's just there is this issue in that community, and it's hard if you're a religious person who doesn't want to like force your beliefs on anyone. It's hard because you feel like there's this constant bias against you and that everyone hates you if they know what you believe. You know what I mean? It's just the way that it is. And if you're not religious out there, that's totally cool by me. I don't claim to speak also for all religious people. I guess just those of us who feel this way are just used to it. Like we keep watching movies, right? We keep playing games that often call us bigots. And I really have picked up my eyes off the floor so many times after they rolled out of my head and down the hallway because of this stuff. So this is all just a long way of saying that I was curious how they were going to portray religious people in this town. Like what angle, if any, were the developers going to choose, right? Or what are they going to try to communicate to us? And it turns out, I don't think they totally committed to like a single angle. I think the portrayal of religion is a bit mixed, which I think I'm okay with because it definitely could have been a lot weirder or worse. But okay, so first off, so we know this is a religious enlightenment kind of town, I would argue, right? It sounds like Ernest saw it more of like a scholarly thing. I think it's mixed because developers are clearly pulling from classic religious language, for one, throughout all the NPC dialogue to ensure that we understand what's going on here. So, like, for example, some of the things they say that jumped out at me, they said literally, "We beseech you," referring to also each other as brothers and sisters, telling people to hearken to the wisdom of the planet about nurturing spirits, not neglecting prayers. There's a lot of talk about prayers out there, right? Not neglecting your study, how happiness comes after enduring many sorrows in life. These are all things I heard NPCs saying.
To nurture your spirit is to nurture the spirit of the planet. And so, I implore you, brothers and sisters, do not neglect your studies, nor your prayers. Through your diligence, you will find true fulfillment.
And that everyone should partake of spiritual communion and live more fulfilling lives.
Our tour of the Veil thus far has no doubt called to mind many emotions and experiences. Let us take a moment to reflect on them now. Through regular spiritual communion, we may all come to live more fulfilling lives.
Encouraging others to, quote, devote themselves to the planet, that those who sacrifice shall be made whole, praying to the Great Mother to bring light to darkness and lead her children home.
O Great Mother, from whom all blessings flow, we beseech you, cast your light in the dark and lead your children.
I mean, I could go on, but we probably recognize this language as being very closely related to religious language, right? Biblical language, other faiths as well. And
Oh, I mean, it predates that. I mean, you're talking about multi-theistic stuff that existed like even before ancient Rome. You're talking ancient Babylonians. Like this kind of language and this kind of concept predates so much. And especially like you talk about the Native American like aspect of this, that predates any of that. And I think they did a great job, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought you'd be a fan. I like that you're digging it. I like that when you say that language comes from like thousands and thousands of years ago, what do you mean exactly?
So like these concepts of like, you know,
the concepts, yeah, but you've also got to think like as far as we have writings of people from thousands of years ago, they're almost always writing about what?
Depending on what it was.
Religious texts from the very like past, right?
Exactly. And more specifically, back then, there were very few monotheistic religions. Most of them were polytheistic in that era, right?
Yeah, like the Egyptians and
specifically the Native Americans, which this is modeled after, right? But then when you start tying into like the planet, which is what the planetology aspect of this is going, that's really where it leans into like the Native American side of it, or some of these ancient like Eastern religions where they focus more on the planet as the higher power than...
Yeah, like that's where the term Mother Nature comes from.
Right, than a distinct separate higher power that is not the planet itself, right? So like, I think they were very respectful with it in general. Because again, this can be seen as kind of a sensitive subject, right? So like,
right.
And it was generally positive. Like there was very little negativity in how they portrayed this.
Kind of. I would actually push back on that. I think there were positive elements, but I also think that there were negative elements because they kind of didn't commit to one perspective.
If people everywhere resolved to not take her bounty for granted and offered up prayers of gratitude, no man, woman, or child would suffer.
Like, it kind of depends on the perspective that the viewer brings to the game as well. Like, there are also some who are shown somewhat neutrally, but it leaves the judgment up to the gamer, which I kind of like. I really think that's interesting. But like, for example, right toward the front of the village, you run into a group of NPCs kneeling in prayer. They're in front of this like preacher who's talking to them. They're all kneeling in prayer. And it's clear that they're like hanging on every word that this preacher's saying, making them feel like they're maybe in desperate search of truth or very devout, right? And while it's a little intense, maybe to some people, we probably know people like this in our lives. Maybe some people might relate to this as they're watching it, or maybe, depending on the personal viewpoint of the gamer, you think that they're foolish idiots like Yuffie, right?
Don't get me started on the planetologists. Bunch of blowhards in love with the sound of their own voice.
And I love Yuffie being like the atheist in this town. It's so good.
Oh yeah, Yuffie is like it.
It's so good.
When you die, you return to the planet? Psst, that has literally got to be the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Once you die, that's that.
But that's kind of what makes this interesting. Like, your individual perspective really determines how you judge all these NPCs, or at least some of these more neutral ones. There's also like a tourist man who says that he feels like...
It feels like the cosmos is within me.
Which is a bit of a nod to a sort of like spiritual enlightenment that religious people like sometimes claim or may even relate to. So for some people playing this game, they might empathize with that particular random NPC guy. And for others, they might roll their eyes and say that he's completely nuts. Like, it depends on personal perspective.
That, and everyone's on their own personal journey.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And they're on different points on it, right? So like there are people who have been on that journey and decided it wasn't for them and went a different way. They're still on a journey. They're just not on that journey anymore.
You're talking about in real life?
Yeah, in real life, right? Because all this is like commentary, right? This is also like...
Yeah, which is why I was so curious how it was going to be portrayed, because I want to know the commentary of the developers who I really like, who are making the games that I love. So I was like, oh, how are they going to do this?
And I did give them credit because, like, if you think about it, I'm assuming they're primarily Japanese writers that wrote this, right? So
I'm sure, yeah.
So in order to deeply understand the Native American ethos, they would have had to do a lot of research, and they would have had to really understand what it was to kind of put this together the way they did, but then mix it with some other, you know, more modern aspects.
But I don't think it's as Native American religion as you do. There are definitely influences, but remember, this is its unique religion, its unique faith. So it's not 100% Native American. This is planetology, which is basic to this planet, right?
Right.
I think they're using Native American imagery, and it happens to be the location. But I do think a lot of the planetology stuff is...
Well, their beliefs are very planet-centric.
I do think there's a lot of parallels to planetology. But then I do, to Jolie's point too, is that they are like, they're melding a bunch of other things, and it's its own unique thing, right? I think Native American is the inspiration, but they're not beholden to...
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. They expanded out into other areas, and like they're bringing more modern concepts in. Like if this was a real place, what would it be like? And I think they got it, right? You've got some people that are looking at like ancient mysticism. You have ones that are looking at more modern forms of worship or whatever it is. And then you have like inside of that group, you have like the academics researching and doing academic work around all of that belief system. So like they kind of got all the parts. What I didn't get walking out was like a definitive like understanding of what it was.
Yeah.
I got the large picture.
Yeah.
I think they kind of do this on purpose.
I agree with what you're saying, but they definitely have those kinds of moments where the behavior of some of these planetologists is just extreme enough to cross into like cult-like territory, right? Which is interesting. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because even in the modern world, inside these little groups, there are cults out there, right? They exist.
Right. That's what I'm saying that you would say, right? But there's a lot of them. Like if you were to take like all the religious people that I know, like there'd be a tiny percentage that is cultish. The ratio here, there were a lot more cultish people than there were like in a realistic ratio. So they're much more represented to me, right? I thought it was interesting because we don't see anything like that in the original game. In the OG, the townspeople are simply a people who appreciate the earth, they appreciate the natural order of the planet, and they live respectfully while seeking knowledge, basically, right? That's a change from the original game. And I'm not even talking about the fact that they like wear religious robes or they preach or pray or study and dedicate their lives to their faith. I mean, that's fine, right? That's pretty typical, I think, of any worldwide religion. You could look at that and not judge it as cult-like necessarily. It's just the extreme ways that some of them behave that kind of makes me think a little bit like what is being said here, right? And I don't know the answer. It could be nothing.
Do you have examples of them being extreme?
I do.
Yeah, give me the examples.
Okay, let me give you the examples.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the worst offender, I thought. There was a native mother and a son in the market area. And maybe, again, this is probably just coming from my own perspective, right? Because we're all judging all this stuff based on what we believe and know and everything like that.
Is this the one where the tourist gave her candy and then she said, say a prayer?
Yes. Okay, so, and it's super cringy.
I did take note of this.
What an upstanding young man you are, helping out like this. You deserve a nice reward.
Thank you so much.
First of all, I mean, they lost points right off the bat because the child was voiced by a middle-aged woman.
Yeah, you hate that. We know.
Yeah, y'all should know by now that I don't care how much faith and repentance is in your heart. That's a cardinal sin.
Nice.
I know.
Some grandmother gives this little boy/middle-aged woman a piece of candy.
Mom, look, I got some candy.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Remember to say a prayer before you eat it.
I know. Oh, great Mother Planet, thank you for this blessing.
That's my good little boy.
It's so cringy for me. I mean, mostly because of the acting. It's just so cringy. But also, like, I'm sorry, I don't know a religious normie who says a prayer over a piece of candy. And maybe that's their point, like that these are not just like normal religious people. Maybe they want us to think that they're a cult, but it feels like they're almost mocking religious people.
Remember to say a prayer before you eat it.
for like saying a blessing on their food.
See, I totally disagree with you.
That's how I took it.
Oh, great Mother Planet, thank you for this blessing.
I don't know. I felt like it felt very tropey and like foolish cultish to me.
Really?
And I know, I did. And I felt like, I even remember thinking that and then thinking, oh, Ernest will say, well, there's really people like this, so I totally accept it. And I was
maybe your husband will say it.
I was arguing with Ernest in my head, and now apparently I need to argue with Spencer.
I've never seen anybody do it over candy.
Candy is what I'm talking about.
That's weird. I'll be the first one to tell you that is weird. I see them do it all the time over food.
Food, yeah.
But not candy.
I don't think it's weird. Like, okay, I remember this part, but that's so funny that I think they're just trying to say, like, look, she's a mother that's from Cosmo Canyon. She's trying to raise her son, and she's like saying...
That's what they're saying.
Right, and it's a tourist who's giving him the candy.
It's just an old lady, yeah.
That sees this boy and wants to offer him some candy or whatever, right?
That's not creepy.
Yeah.
It's an old lady. Old ladies aren't like out to get you.
Every old lady in the world has a bunch of weird candy that has no branding on it, and she can give it to kids that are
like the toffees and the...
Yes, it's like, what is this? Okay, I'll eat it.
Thank you so much.
My point is, okay, that's funny that you thought that they were trying to like...
I didn't know.
Beat you over the head with it. Because I saw it as like this kind of like cringy, yet they're still trying to be like, look, we're respectful of the planet. So like even when you get something as simple as a piece of candy, like be thankful and say a prayer for this thing.
No, they are saying that.
Even though I thought it was cringy, but I didn't.
But it's like a piece of candy is really extreme, right?
I don't think that veers into cult-like behavior at all. I think that's like...
I think it's kind of culty.
If that's your number one example for them being a cult, like, no, like,
it's just...
she's just trying, like, it's like one of those sweet moments for a mother and her son to be like, yeah, like, this is who we are. We believe in this faith. So, like, yeah, you can pray over this candy. Like, that was like a little blessing that you got or whatever. I don't see it as a cult at all.
I thought it was culty. I don't know. I thought it was weird. But
culty stuff is like, I will give my whole self to you regardless of, like, outside family or pressure. This is just like a clunky, sweet moment.
Yeah, okay, so apparently I'm alone on this one. I'm probably the only, everyone else in our audience probably agrees with you guys. But okay, let me give you a couple other examples.
Yeah, I want to hear your other ones.
It's very possible that the candy one just turned me off because I hated the performances so bad that I was like, I think that PO'd from the beginning.
I think you struggle with that.
I do. I can't.
You got to disassociate. I know you never can.
I can't do it. I can't do it. It's so bad. It's so, do not, Square, just cast a kid to do all the child parts, all the NPC kid parts. Like,
right. I think it's cringy, but I
know there are different labor laws. Get over it. Like, I've dealt with labor laws with children. You can deal with it too. It's not the end of the world. Please.
Right, but I'm just wondering if you're projecting motives onto it because it's a bad performance rather than it like, you know.
It's very possible. But let me give you a couple other examples.
Yeah, give me some other.
You can correct me if you think that I'm off on the culty thing, right? So, okay, there was another scene where a group of planetologists were praying over food. They were over on the hotel patio.
Oh, I remember this one. Yeah.
So, Spencer, I know you just replayed the hotel
I did.
today.
I got there. I did see this.
So you did say, So, but instead of having one person say the blessing and then everyone eating.
By the boundless grace of the planet, may we enjoy our lives and this meal before us. From our brethren are we given life, and unto them shall we give life in turn.
Everyone at the table had to say some big ceremonial words of thanks one by one after the initial prayer was said.
We offer our thanks to the Great Mother for the pleasure of sharing her bounty with others.
Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing. Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing.
Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing. Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing.
Which is not really how religious people talk, right?
See,
I don't know. I think people bless their food all the time. This is so extreme to me. It was like they were in a cult to me. Am I wrong?
Maybe I'm reading it wrong because I'm thinking that those aren't people that live at Cosmo Canyon. I think those are tourists that are trying to be enlightened, and then they're all saying...
No, they're wearing the robes.
Because that was a problem with me. No joke. There's a moment where you go to a group of NPCs, and there's this preacher that's saying a prayer in this entire group. And I'm looking for the lip syncing of the guy who's saying it, and I'm thinking it's going to be the guy in the robe. But then I look, and it's a guy in the city clothes.
Oh, really?
Right? And I'm like, that's bizarre, but it was just like on one of the...
Oh, I don't even remember that.
One of the bridges, like...
I'll say this much. Nothing in this place gave me cult vibe.
Nothing gave it to you. Okay.
Because cult has like a very specific meaning to me. It's like, it's one of those things like Spence made a point earlier. It's like, you're not allowed to talk to your family anymore because...
There's like they isolate you from people you love.
The isolation.
There's a whole bunch of different things. They deprive you of food and nourishment so that there's a whole bunch of lists.
Yeah.
I've watched like every cult documentary ever made. I find them so fascinating.
The true crime woman that loves...
Oh, yeah. I watch those true crime things about them every now and then, too. And I remember watching one of these true crime things one time, and they were explaining it as... If you saw somebody outside of your organization, right, like you call it a cult or whatever, outside of your organization do something, and that to you was offensive or despicable or whatever, and it was just unconscionable or however you want to look at it, but then someone within your organization did or said that exact same thing, and you found a way to rationalize it,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
that is now a cult because it's the things that you know to be wrong.
You're justifying.
You're rationalizing them because the cult has said that's the way.
Okay.
So I did not see any of that. Now, I admit, I did not talk to every NPC.
I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. So,
But this specific example that you're talking about, Jolie, like I thought I was...
It's not culty to you?
No, but I misinterpreted it because like I feel like the NPCs, like the people that are saying the words, sometimes they're in the robe, sometimes there's not, you know, they usually get it right. But I thought they were like eating at, because that's at the hotel diner, right?
Yeah. They're all sitting at a table and they one by one are like, oh, great mother, whatever.
Right, but see, so the way I read that as was like, maybe they all had the preacher robes on. I thought that some of them were like locals, but I also thought some of them were like tourists.
I don't remember.
Because why would you be in the hotel if you live there?
Right, maybe it's the only restaurant.
Right, but maybe they were just...
I don't know.
The way I saw it is that they went there and it was just like the tourists being like, I'm trying to like connect with nature and I'm bad at this because I don't know planetology.
Okay, so that would make sense to me if they were dressed like tourists.
Right.
But I don't think they were. We'll play the clip and you'll know.
Okay, yeah, because one of them says it like fine, the other one kind of exaggerates, and then the fourth one
They all exaggerate.
Right, but then the fourth one, they were stuttering over their words as if they'd never said a prayer before or something.
We offer our thanks to the Great Mother for the pleasure of sharing her bounty with others.
Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing. Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing.
Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing. Great Mother, we thank you for your blessing.
Anyway, maybe I'm not thinking of the same one.
I don't think that was the same group, but maybe. We'll go back and look.
Yeah, play the B-roll and we'll see.
It sounds like so far I am the only one who was getting some cult vibes here. So here's there's also like the merchants who are using religion to try to get people to buy their stuff.
Yeah, but
I actually thought was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. Like, they say things like,
The planet guided you to our store, so don't miss out on these incredible deals.
I just thought that was so funny. And like also true to the reality that there will always be people out there who try to make like an easy buck off of religion.
Oh, yeah. There's always unscrupulous people. And maybe that was the point, right? It was like...
When it might have been.
To try to get like a wide array of like the range of...
Like opportunists or...
Right. And I think I'm okay with that. I think I kind of like that approach.
Yes.
But then there are a few other cult-like behaviors to me. Apparently, I'm the only one around the village.
None of these are cult-like yet.
I don't know. Okay, so...
If someone told the other ones to drink the Kool-Aid so they could catch a ride on a comet...
Okay, yeah, that's cult-like. Maybe I'm taking it too extreme.
Then I would be like, absolutely.
Okay, touche.
Oh, Great Mother, from whom all blessings flow.
Okay, the best example, and this is also a bad example now that I'm thinking about it too. I was going to say the best example of creepy cultish behaviors from that weirdo Queen's Blood player lady.
Queen's blood is of the planet and for the planet. It, like all things, is part of the great cycle that connects us.
But all of the Queen's Blood player people are supposed to be taken as a joke, so...
Yeah. But the Queen's Blood players are in a cult.
You've more than a passing interest in Queen's Blood. It has bewitched you. Be at ease. It is only natural to hear its call.
That's the thing, like everyone...
Yeah, that's actually true. And
The actual cult is the Queen's Blood player.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Spence. Like, if you actually think about it,
yes,
they are technically in a cult.
They are. Like, you get a rank.
And they're also very eccentric in general. So, yeah, I could definitely see that reading.
But that is funny, because she does give those vibes, but she's funny because she, like, comes in all preachy and, like, and soft and wispy, but then when you beat her, she kind of talks into, like, a deeper, like, more angry tone.
Be careful. The game's pleasures belie the thorns beneath that will bleed you slowly and surely.
It's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she was like just weird and creepy.
She was.
I couldn't tell if I really liked her dialogue. Because, like, if you kick her butt, as I did on my first try, she talks about, like, how the darkness that has taken over many who play Queen's Blood, like the same kinds of themes here that we've heard from other players. She talks about that darkness. But then she says things like,
remember, the guards are a link between us and the planet. If you are in trouble, reach out, she shall answer.
And then she says,
"Oh, great mother, hear my prayer. Watch over your son."
And to me, like, if we're supposed to take her at face value that she's praying to the planet and all that, then it's kind of weird and creepy. But if we're supposed to believe that she has actually
I think
been
she's praying to, like, the Queen's blood.
unknowingly deceived.
Whoever this queen is.
Yes, from the Shadowblood Queen. And that her prayers to the Great Mother, like the Great Mother to her, is actually the evil queen instead of the planet. And that's actually, like, really cool and creepy, interesting stuff, right? But I just couldn't tell if that's what they were intending or not 100%.
Sure.
So
my whole take with Queen's Blood, because I didn't play it through on my first playthrough, but I'm going back, and playing it again. It's like all these creepy cutscenes where, like, literally the creator of Queen's Blood is being, like, haunted by spirits and all this stuff. Like, it just has that.
I would even say it's not even cultish. That's like now they're bordering on like demonic possession.
It is. Like, that's right.
It's going into that very dark area.
Right.
But again, I think they were trying to get the full range, right, of end to end. And I think they captured it, right?
Like, that was my conclusion too, right? I said that at the beginning is like they didn't commit to one particular stereotype or type of person or whatever. They kind of just sprinkled it all in here. And I said, I think I'm okay with that. And I think I am, right? But there are also the planetologists who are high on their own supply. Right? To the point that they reject others' experiences.
Hell,
like
Bugenhagen is chief among them.
Bugenhagen is that way.
Bugenhagen himself,
Totally agree.
Such grand delusions could be a sign of Mako poisoning. Do see a doctor.
Or the people who tell Barrett that he can't do anything to save the planet because the planet saves itself or something.
I had the pleasure of talking to a mentor. Said it was presumptuous of me to think I could save the planet. She decides her own fate, you see. As rain cleanses the skies, so too does she cleanse herself of filth. So what? We sit here and theorize while the planet rinses and repeats?
It does make those religious people look kind of dumb, or at least wrong, right? At the very least.
I will push back on that one a little bit because I actually agree with that individual who told Barrett that. Because now, granted, I'm a person who absolutely believes in like protecting the planet. I help recycle old technology to try to keep it out of landfills and all that kind of stuff. I'm not like, trying to go live off of windmills or anything like that. I'm not that level. But I kind of agree because when you hear people say, oh, we're killing the planet, and it's like, no, we're not killing the planet. Human beings are not. This planet has been here for billions of years before human beings. And I guarantee you, when all is said and done, it will be here for billions of years after human beings are long off this thing. We're insignificant in the time span of this entire thing. And so I think that person was right that he cannot save the planet. The planet will ultimately save itself. And I actually think that's playing out in the storyline itself with the weapons and all this other stuff.
But Barrett is trying to protect and save the planet by stopping the Mako drain, because we haven't gotten to the actual planetarium scene, right? But he explains that if all the Mako is sucked up out of the Earth, that the planet will die, and you actually see it like turn brown and crumble and die, right? So Barrett's like, I want to save the planet by preventing that from happening by stopping this Mako draining the planet's like life force, its energy, right? So in this case, the planet is actually dying. And so it's not like our Earth, right? Like you're making that argument for our Earth. It's their Earth where that's the whole stakes, right? The whole stakes of this whole thing is that the planet is going to cease to exist if they don't stop Shinra. That's one of the things. And then Sephiroth is the other.
But I think that NPC's point was the planet is already responding, right? Like no individual person can stop it. And maybe that they should have clarified that a little bit better. I didn't take it as them telling Barrett you're useless. I took it more as like, one person cannot stop this. The planet is already responding to what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, you need to work with the planet.
See, I took it as this, you know how Bugenhagen and the people in the little Alcoholics Anonymous circle or whatever, you know how they reject Tifa's experience that she had?
What matters is that you keep challenging your beliefs. Stop doing that,
and the answers will forever elude you.
I took this as part of that. Like, these are people, they're so educated, they think they know everything. And so sometimes that makes them push back on people.
Yeah, they actually like reprimand Tifa and tell her to like not, they're like, you were wrong, try again. You know?
Right. Yeah. So that's how I took the comments to bear it. But you also have to think about this too. So there's a very common motif in the Final Fantasy series that just blind faith is dangerous and that people should be wary of following those with religious power. It's really prominent in Tactics, which we just got done playing. Spencer streamed it, right? Yeah. It's all over that. It's really prominent in a lot of Final Fantasies, but like Heaven's Word in Final Fantasy XIV is like so mean to the Catholic Church. It seems like it just feels like that. I mean, it's not Catholics, but like a lot of the robes and stuff, you can tell that that's where they got the inspiration.
Yeah, the iconography.
Also, there also don't seem to be like a lot of normie, and this is the last thing I'll say on this, but not a lot of normie religious people in this world other than Aerith. Aerith is really kind of the only like normie person to me, like normie religious person, because she fits into regular society, but she prays, right? She carries her faith in her heart. She doesn't just preach it or like do big ceremonial things, but she does delicate like religious practices of her own. And you can tell she carries her faith in her heart and allows it to like govern her actions, right? To me, that's more of how a normie religious person would act, aside from the fact that she has magical Cetra powers or whatever. But you see what I'm saying? Like the way they represent her.
I totally agree with that take on Aerith, right? Because she has this knowledge and obviously the Cetra powers and all that stuff, but she grew up in Midgar and she was being experimented on, and the Turks are always after her, and she has this crazy life, but then she still is able to ground herself in something bigger than herself, which is great, right? Which is like, that's to me as a religious person, I'll just tell you guys, it's like life is normal, we're crazy, we're dealing with stuff with kids and the modern technology of the world. Sure, but like the best thing about my faith is that I can tune out all the noise and know what's really important.
And like centralize yourself.
Yeah, and Aerith is a good representation of that, right? Whereas like, not only does she have something that grounds her and like motivates her and pushes her forward, but she also acts on her faith too.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of these people that we're talking about, they'll like, oh, the planet will just figure it out. Like
maybe that was part of the juxtaposition that was meant to also be part of this here.
Sure.
And I also look at it as like, because she has all those powers and because she has all that knowledge, she's by definition not a normie.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, though. I said that she's set apart because of the Cetra thing. What I'm talking about is she's a normie in the way that she's represented in her actions. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And
she's a Cetra, yes, she has all these powers, but she's being represented as a normie.
I look at it as her trying to like blend in with like normal society, because she's not, right? Like she's clearly not.
Yeah, right. She isn't.
Doesn't that assume inauthenticity on her part, though? Is that she would act a certain way in order to blend in? That feels very counter to Aerith's character to me.
I don't think it's inauthentic. I think if you are different, but you want to be part of a group and you have your own belief system and maybe they don't, like you kind of figure out how you fit in the picture. It's not necessarily being inauthentic. Your earlier example of somebody who uses that to manipulate other people, that's absolutely inauthentic. But I don't think she's doing that. I think in her case, she's just like, she knows she has all this, but she was raised with everyone else. She wants to be part of the regular group. She has her own beliefs and her own faith and she lives them, and all that's true. But she's not a normal person. She's fitting in to normal society and trying to bring her stuff with her and live it as best she can in the context of being a super powerful being.
But the way she practices her faith is what Jolie's saying is normal.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not trying to manipulate other people. She's not lying to them. Yeah, I agree with all of that 100%.
She's also learning, which I think is cool. Like she even admits, like there are things I don't know.
A living, breathing planet. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
It may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Guess I still have a lot to learn.
I relate to that. I understand that.
She's a very complex character, but I think she carried the normie perspective, if you want to call it that, in this environment.
I think she does a good job at that.
I mean, religion in Final Fantasy VII is interesting because we pretty much know for a fact that religious beliefs about the planet and Lifestream are correct, right? Like there is a Lifestream, that Tifa was in it in Chapter 9, and that the people return to it when they die. Like there's no like traditional god of this world. The closest equivalent of a god is the planet itself, right? There's no like
or the live stream.
Or the live stream, that kind of thing, right? The Great Mother, as they call it, or whatever. It's like a feminine goddess, I guess, kind of sorts. But as far as I can tell, like the Great Mother doesn't have like a single consciousness or like a trinity consciousness or whatever people on Earth tend to traditionally believe about maybe a more traditional god. It's just the planet, which consists of the essences of everyone who has lived and will live. And I mean, you didn't know this is going to be a Final Fantasy theology class, but anyway.
No, I think it's so interesting. This is the stuff that's cool.
I tell you what, our viewers are not going to get this on any other channel. So
For better or worse, I always say.
For better or worse.
But I mean, I do want to ask the question, and this is going to open up the floodgates of comments. So I guess bring them on, teach me the ways, I guess. Does anyone fully understand the live stream idea? I'm not talking about like the basics, okay? So like we know that when people die, they return to the planet in the live stream, but do they like continue to have any kind of individual existence, or is everyone just some kind of like blob of ethereal consciousness and memories or something? Because those who practice planetology seem to be pretty at peace with being a part of this memory blob when it sounds like a kind of horrible afterlife to me. I don't know. I don't want to exist in a blob without my own individual consciousness. I don't know. Okay, so we see hints that you continue. This matters, you guys. We see hints that you continue to exist in some form as an individual, you know, as seen as at the end of the original game, or even at the end of Advent Children, despite my wishes for its decanonization, because I don't think that movie is good. But
it's so bad.
Is it ever truly explained what returning to the planet actually means? Because I think it's kind of important.
Well, they've talked about it, especially in this chapter, right? The live stream is like, yeah, it's like their god. It's like the planet. It's just like, it's very Lion King-esque, right? I just watched Lion King with the boys, and it's like...
When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass.
That's all I think the live stream that they're saying. It's like,
it's the circle of life.
Yes, like you have this experience and then your memories are forever within the live stream. And so whatever you did in life, like, is always remembered, and it can be portrayed onto those in the future, to those that like your ancestors or those that are important. Aerith praying to the planet or the live stream for deliverance and all this stuff. I don't know about everything, but we kind of get glimpses of that in the future.
Yeah.
We know what happens to Aerith, or at least we think so. And then she's still like able to pull strings or to do things within the live stream because of her memories or consciousness or whatever the live stream deems.
Connection.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's not like super explained.
And it's not super essential, by the way. This is not something I need, quote, spelled out. I'm just wondering about it. Like, I don't think this kind of depth.
Well, I think it matters a ton, because what you're talking about, like, everyone uses the live stream as like the
kind of end all be all
catch-all MacGuffin that like answers all the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very central thing in this entire game.
But like, what I want to know is, because of events that unfold, right? And things that have already happened to people like Wedge, right?
Don't worry. It's all good, bro.
I want to know, like, when you die, what happens to you in this world? Like, you, Spencer, are part of this planet. You die. What the heck is next? Like,
you go back to the live stream.
You go back to the live stream, quote unquote. What does that mean? Do you still have your consciousness? Are you still an individual?
I think your memories and just everything that you did.
Are you reincarnated? Like, what is happening?
No. That's another thing too, right? The only thing future that I've seen is Advent Children and whatever, not if that's canon or not.
I hate that movie so much, you guys. So bad.
Like, he's trying to corrupt the live stream or do all these things that like make it so it can't go back to normal or whatever, right? And Genova is also included in that because she's like
Just throw that in there.
Foreigner and whatever. But to the average person that was born from the planet, returns to the planet. I think it's just as simple as that. And I don't know what that means.
That's what I'm saying, is like, I'd like to know like what the actual like doctrine is of this, just because I'm curious. I'd like to know that about real life too. I want like the facts. I want it spelled out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want it spelled out. I'm just curious.
Okay, well, let me go into a spiel because I've been dying to talk about this. You want it all spelled out and like...
Not really spelled. I'm being sarcastic because spelled out is not what I actually want.
But I'm talking about like when we go back to the NPCs and how a lot of people are tourists and they're showing up to this place. Like, they're going on like a spiritual pilgrimage.
Yes.
But pilgrimage to me kind of indicates that there's some effort put into it, and then they go on this journey or whatever. These are just people showing up with their luggage, and they're like staying in a hotel that's like nice and fun or whatever. But it's funny because I have mixed feelings about how they portray religious people here, because on the one hand, I don't think there's any cult-like stuff. I think it's overzealous in some ways, but not on the level of bordering like cult or anything like that. But I think there's people that are looking for answers to life's questions, like where do we go, what's going on, right? And so you have people that are showing up that want to know what's going on with the Lifestream, and Planetology, as far as I know in this world, is one of the only faiths that they offer. The tricky part about creating a world is that we're a world full of multiple religions and ideologies and worldviews about what happens to us, you know? But for us in this, all we get is like Planetology, and that it's very distilled down to like there's a bad corporation that's like taking the life force out of the planet. Planetology is the religion of the Lifestream and the planet, and then that's it, right? So I think it's like a referendum on organized religion, because you go in there and you have these people that are
that's what I gather as well,
just kind of throwing themselves at this thing, and then we kind of see glimpses of like, oh, like maybe they're giving them answers, but they kind of seem like putzes that are just kind of throwing their money at these people,
and they're wrong. You know?
But I don't think it's trying to do that. I think they're trying to paint the people of Cosmo Canyon as good, kind-hearted people, but they're kind of foolish for getting suckered into this moment of like, yeah, you're going there for answers to what happens to you, but really all you're getting is like a dream catcher and like a nice day on like the canyon wall, right? And they're like, am I doing it right? Am I praying right? And some people are like, I'm feeling it or I'm not, you know, like they're having spiritual experiences or not. Because the reason I say this is because then when we go into Planetology, we have an experience from Tifa in chapter 9.
Right.
And she has been in the Lifestream, and what does she do? She goes to that seminar and she shares her experience, and they're like, no. Bugenhagen himself, whoever fellow Bugenhagen is, and they all revere him. I thought he was like some prophet. I guess I don't know, right? But he kind of looks at her like, you don't understand it, when she literally had this experience where she was in the Lifestream, and he totally rejects it.
Yes.
Siphoned from the planet and processed for industry, that energy can no longer fulfill its true purpose. It is fated to fuel man's machinery, then fade away.
Okay, but does it actually fade away? I mean, what if it doesn't? What if it just returns to the Lifestream in a different form? Is that possible?
A novel theory, suggestive of a lack of understanding. However, that can be overcome with time and education.
So it's like if you were coming to this place for answers, it's like we know from our party, right, that we have been actually inside the Lifestream. We've seen what happens through Tifa's point of view.
Experienced.
And then they come and they kind of poo-poo that, right? And Barrett, as another example, Barrett comes and he's talking about how like his whole motivation was to go to Cosmo Canyon. Was like, finally, like we get to go see the like birthplace of Planetology, and we're going to get direction.
It's beautiful. More than I ever imagined. Come on, let's pick up the pace. I can hear it calling my name.
And like, how does Barrett feel after he has this experience with them, right? At first, he was like, kind of like, okay, maybe I can recruit some of these people to Avalanche.
The real question is, why'd we come here? To learn the secrets of Planetology. Come on.
But as time goes on, it's like, Barrett kind of just sees them as a sham. He's like, they're not willing to act.
Right.
They're not willing to do anything about this. So I feel like the game's overall message is...
organized religion doesn't have the answers.
Yeah, these are good, fine people, but really they are not right.
They're missing the main point.
Right.
That's what I think as well.
Right. And so like whatever you believe that the developer's point of view was, that they wanted to get that across, it kind of feels like they're saying that in this chapter is like, you know.
No, I agree with you 100%. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I found when I was like looking at this chapter, and like, again, to Jolie's point, I go look up stuff outside, right? It was calling out Barrett and his whole like Avalanche thing. And the comment I found was interesting. It was Avalanche was the action, right? Versus like Cosmo Canyon and the whole Planetology thing was like the science and, as you call it, the religion, the mysticism, whatever around it. And Avalanche was trying to take the action to do something, right? And then to your point, Barrett is like, yeah, these people believe generally the same thing I do, but they're not willing to do anything about it.
Right.
They're academics, they're whatever, and they want to stay here, right?
Yeah.
So there's a phrase, right? Faith without action, right? So this is like, is intellectual understanding sufficient here, or the faith in this planetology thing without action, or is it void? Right? So like Barrett's actually taking action on it.
Which I like.
I think we all like it, right?
Yeah.
They're the heroes of the story, right? So like they're taking action. Maybe they can't individually solve it. And I think that's another like just big trope of Final Fantasy is like, me as one individual cannot stop this, but we as a team can. All of us, right? As players of the game, we're acting on it as opposed to just knowing about it.
There's also an interesting comment I do want to bring to you guys. Joshua Coons, 9517. Joshua, we know Joshua.
Hey, Josh.
Says there is a lot of important information that is in this chapter that you really have to pay attention to, people in the town, and wait for them to finish their dialogue. If you didn't do that because it wasn't obvious you were supposed to, you miss out on a lot of important information that pertains directly to the story and how the planet works. This information should have been part of the main dialogue inside the main story. It explains a lot of what Sephiroth says in Chapter 13, which we haven't reached yet. Otherwise, like most people, when Sephiroth goes into his monologue, it leaves you completely confused. So, okay, this is a good point. So if anything is essential for an average gamer to understand in the story, I say it needs to be somewhere in the game where every person will hear it. So kind of like the Cait Sith conversation in the cave, right? On the way to the village.
You said old Sephiroth's come back from the dead, right? And that's a bad thing. So what I want to know is, how'd he do it? And what's he after?
He wants to save the planet.
This makes me especially curious which dialogue Joshua is referring to as well. And then there was another comment here that I saw, and I think this is talking about the same thing. Karyusix, Karyusux, says, I think the most important thing in this chapter is the NPC that talks about the Lifestream and alternative worlds. It's right before the Planetology assembly, but since it's easy to miss, if you type FF7 Rebirth Cosmo Canyon NPC on YouTube, you can watch it. Joshua Coons then responded to this person and said, I know, right? This information that they say should have been part of the main dialogue in some way. A huge missed opportunity. All it did by not including it was to make people even more confused. After Sephiroth did his monologue in Chapter 13, then they would have been, if you would have included it in the main dialogue, you still would leave wondering, just not completely dumbfounded. Okay, so I saw this comment before this recording, actually, and I searched back through my recording to find the part that was mentioned, but I had apparently missed this moment of the dialogue entirely during my gameplay. So this is another moment that I missed that was kind of important, right?
Yeah, interesting.
So I looked it up on YouTube, and I actually, instead of me like talking to you, I'm going to send you the link on WhatsApp. Can you guys watch this really quick?
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm going to have you watch it. And I'll play it here so people don't have to search YouTube.
Would anyone else like to share their story with the group?
So, my parents are no longer with us. Here, that is. But I believe they're still out there, on another plane.
Holy
I've been
crap.
reading a bunch of theories about this alternate world in the hope of going there someday. And over the course of my studies, I stumbled across a fascinating theory. It addressed the issue of what the Lifestream is, arguing that spiritual energy is actually a manifestation of our knowledge and memories. Like I said, it's a fascinating theory, but it's incomplete. What about our hopes and dreams? We remember those, don't we? So what if spiritual energy doesn't distinguish between our real, lived memories and the unrealized desires buried deep in our hearts? What if coming into contact with that energy allowed us to peer through the looking glass, so to speak? It's just an idea, but I hope to find the truth someday.
Well, isn't that splendid?
This is the whole like multiverse theory.
Is it? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
This is the whole Zack stuff because like everyone is freaking out about how like there's no actual parallel dimensions. It's all on another plane within the life stream and these memories stuff. So this is crazy important if this is the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, so plot relevant to this whole thing, and I totally did not see this.
I did not see this. Did you see this? I went back to my main gameplay footage, and I was like, nope.
This is right before we go to the seminar with Tifa, right?
Yes.
And Aerith.
Should have been part of the main storyline for sure.
Right?
Or at least been, like, this discussion should have been had in that same cutscene where Tifa had her, like, you would have been forced to go through it.
Yeah, because it's part of the critical path.
Right.
Right? As opposed to it being an optional thing. Yeah, that's what it should have done.
So what if spiritual energy doesn't distinguish between our real, lived memories and the unrealized desires buried deep in our hearts? What if coming into contact with that energy allowed us to peer through the looking glass, so to speak?
I don't know exactly what it's trying to say. I could probably figure out if I sat down and thought about it for a while.
I sat down and thought about it, and I was a little confused still. I'm not going to lie.
There is I don't even know what you want to call it, a belief out there or something like that has to do with the fact that it's something like the universe is nothing more than it pondering itself or humanity pondering it, or I forget exactly how it's phrased, but it's like the fact that we think about our existence and the universe is what actually causes it to be in existence, right? Like, in other words, if humanity were to stop thinking, existence would stop at that point. There is a belief system around that. This sounds very similar to that, but I don't know like how it plays into the storyline here.
I think what it's saying is like, it's always the memories thing. They keep going back to the memories, right? Like the Lifestream is a collection of our memories. And then this woman is basically saying, I don't know, I just watched it, but she's saying like, what if it can't distinguish between our memories and our hopes and our dreams? Because those also exist in our minds, right? So it's very... This is just going to add more fuel to the fire for those people to like want to know what happens to Aerith, right? Because it's like they're confused and we know something big is going to happen. But if we're saying like that the Lifestream has parallel universes within the Lifestream, and if it can't distinguish between actual memories or hopes or dreams, things that we've had that are in our subconscious, that create these multiple timelines that are happening.
Right. Multiple realities in a way.
Which is like what's happening with Zach and stuff right now.
Which is non-committal to me. And that like makes me worry, right? Because I feel like it's a way to be like, oh, if you're a Clarith, Aerith and Cloud could be together in this dimension or this timeline or whatever. And if you're a Claudie or whatever, then they could be together in this one. And if you want this to have happened to this character, that could be a thing in this one. To me, that is like...
Yeah, I think that would be bad.
It satisfies nobody by trying to satisfy everybody. So I'm actually concerned about this.
The whole game, Zach is on the cover of this game, you guys.
I know.
And Zach, what do we do when we see Zach in these flashbacks? It's like he's in a parallel dimension / version of the Lifestream, right? They have a tear in the sky. There's all these things that they're hinting towards of things happening. So even if you don't like the direction that they're going, I agree. I don't like everyone can have their cake and eat it too, because there's some version of the Lifestream where someone's hopes and dreams existed where people lived happily ever after in whatever camp you're in. Yeah, I think that's bad, because I think you should stick to something and that there should be stakes, because when the story doesn't have stakes...
Right, that's the problem.
Then it doesn't matter. I agree, but...
Spiritual energy is actually a manifestation of our knowledge and memories.
But it helps explain what the heck is going on with Zach.
My parents are no longer with us. Here, that is. But I believe they're still out there, on another plane.
And if that's like they're just giving this tiny little Easter egg, because right now, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why that's happening, because we changed fate and Zach survived, and okay, at least that gives us some sort of like nugget to hold on to, even if we don't like it.
So do you think it's fair for them to hide this like they did?
No.
Or do you think that this is something everyone should have heard?
I think everyone should hear this.
Oh, everyone should have heard this.
Yeah.
Part of the critical path. Like unavoidable, non-skippable.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's one of those where like there's many ways this could be interpreted. Even if they had put this in the critical path, there's still different ways you can interpret it. You can interpret it like we just did, which is, well, if there's multiple timelines, there are no consequences because there are multiple timelines. But it could also be someone like Sephiroth has figured out how to pull alternative timelines into the current one. So he's looking for the bad ones and trying to crash them together, right? So like there's a lot there that you could use to kind of interpret this story, but this really should have been in the critical path.
Totally should have been. I don't have a problem with it yet. I think I'm skeptical of it because I hate the whole like there's multiple timelines so nothing matters, right?
Right.
I don't like that trope. And I think if they do that, that'll suck. But like I said, this should have been in the critical path that everyone has to see, because if that's the route they take it, then at least give us some breadcrumbs. That's my biggest complaint with Rebirth right now, is that like they are just asking more questions and trying to obscure and keep the mystery. It's like something like this would have been great, because make it, instead of covert, overt, like make it just transparent. This is what you're thinking, and give us these breadcrumbs as to like why these parallel live stream things are happening, right? But right now we're just kind of being like, I don't know what's going on. I guess there's these hints. So then you have to dig, and hopefully you come across this NPC dialogue and you wait there instead of hitting triangle. It's literally like you can just hit triangle and move on, or like walk a few more inches or something. I don't know what triggers the cutscene, but you have to just wait it out to get all that good information, and that's bad. Square Enix.
Yeah, and most people who see the button prompt push the button prompt when they see it. Like, you don't wait around. So it's really kind of hidden in here. I don't know. I thought that was fascinating. I learned that from reading these comments. So this is our community teaching us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch it like 10 times and try to figure out like, what is this thing trying to say?
Yeah.
It's still vague in many ways, which is why I'm like, okay, is it saying this? Is it not? But at least it's something. I just wish it would have been in the critical path. So
awesome call out by
awesome call out.
Thanks, guys.
By the viewer, pointing that out, like this should have been in the main storyline.
Totally agree. But let's talk a little bit more about this actual world, and then we'll move on here. But there's just like so much atmospheric stuff to talk about before we can really dive into main story stuff. Like, that's why we're talking about all of this, right? Like, the cave hotel itself was pretty fun.
So this is the famous cave hotel.
It's pretty close to home, actually, for Spencer and me, actually, because down near like the red rocks of Lake Powell, there's this cave convenience store that people in Utah just know pretty well. It's built right into like the Red Rock Cavern, just like this hotel is. And there's also a famous like Red Rock Cave Hotel in Moab. Ernest, I know that you've taken your Jeep to Moab a few times. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's more of a motel with like outdoor hallways rather than like a giant open cave, but like each of the individual rooms are in like the cave rock. So it's interesting that they have a cave hotel here. I feel like it was inspired by those kind of places. And there's also something that I really loved. I loved this, you guys, about the cave hotel. Believe it or not, it has to do with Advent children, which I know, like Jolie loving something that has to do with Advent children. What's going on? Because most of our viewers know that I do not think Advent Children is a good movie for many reasons, most of them story related and character related. But there is some music in Advent Children that is really beautiful. Okay. And actually, there's a comment here that can make this reveal for me. So Bryce the Oddball said, the choir in the inn near the piano is singing The Promised Land. That's the name from Advent Children. That's the first of two times.
Right. It is from Advent Children.
That song plays in this game, and the third time it appears in the trilogy so far, as the first appearance is a remix that plays after Cloud encounters Sephiroth in Remake Chapter 2 in the vision he has after the reactor blows up and he's trying to get home right before he meets Aerith. I think that's awesome that he picked that up. And Bryce is right. The acoustic choral song that we hear being sung in this reverberating hall of the Cave Hotel is from Advent Children. It is a beautiful composition that I was excited to hear when I entered the hotel. You know, I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy music, and I'm even a big fan of a lot of the Advent Children music. That's included in there. It's really good. And a big cave is a perfect place to sing a song like this so that the sound can bounce around the cavern. And it totally makes sense that planetologists would sing it. So I would say nice job. Like, it's nice, cool Easter egg. And it was beautiful and added to the atmosphere. But but
I was going to critique. I'm like, there was like 5 of them, and it sounded like there were like hundreds of people singing.
So as somebody who has sung in choirs professionally, even at times,
that's how I felt.
If you go down into that place where the choir actually is standing, it's literally 5 people, and there's like one NPC like conducting them as they sing it. But if you listen to it, I've picked out at least 12 voices in this choir at least. Like, there's at least that many parts. So it made me laugh out loud. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And then I went down to look at the choir. I'm like, that's the choir. It's like
I had the same
literally
thought.
a handful of humans.
If you go to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, in the Vatican, they'd set up a similar way where the choir loft, like the architecture's designed for that sound reverberation in there. So you put a choir on a certain spot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's 4 times the number of them.
Well,
just from the reverberations.
Well, I'm not talking about like voices. I'm talking about parts.
Oh.
So there's
okay.
5 people who are singing the choir, but I can pick out like 12 parts.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
You know
yeah,
what I
see
mean?
what you're
Because
saying.
what
Yeah.
you're saying is completely correct. I actually toured with a choir in Europe and sang in cathedrals for this very acoustic reason. Like, I've done it myself, right? But that's what made it so funny is that there's only 5 of them and there's like 3 different female altos, 3 different female. You know what I mean? It's just like
I heard the sound as I was walking into the hotel, and I'm like, this is beautiful.
Like a big choir.
I'm like, where's the choir?
And it's 5 people.
Because I think you had said that there was a choir because I missed the hotel on my first playthrough, so I went and looked, and I'm like, where's the choir? And I'm like, that's the choir.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Don't make fun of them.
It was beautiful, but I'm like, they need more people than that.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah.
If you're a choir person, you go down there and you're like, nope. And then there's this little Easter egg from chapter 6 here in the hotel lobby as well. So did you guys notice the gay couple?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so there's this like cuddly couple
It's
with
2 girls, right?
No, it's 2 dudes.
What? I swear.
You didn't notice.
No, there was.
I mean, this isn't the only gay couple in the game. Like, there's other ones, but there's one in the hotel lobby that's 2 dudes.
Okay, cool.
And they have luggage, and they're in this like hotel. I think it's in the lobby, and they're talking about the
concert at the Royal Coast. I think they pulled it off.
Do you guys know what they're talking about?
I have no idea what that is.
No?
No. Should I know this?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, and it's been a long time since we were at this part. But this, to me, it was clearly meant to be the original pianist who ditched out on the so-called piano concert back in Costa del Sol.
Oh, and Tifa had to fill in?
Yeah.
The pianist decided to skip town. At least he was kind enough to leave behind a letter. Said he had decided to elope.
You remember that?
Oh, that's right.
The one where like Andrea and Madame M made her like go up there and they do, that whole thing. So I don't know. I thought the whole plot line of that concert was so stupid.
I received word from the pianist who eloped. He and his partner left for a place where nothing can come between the 2 of them ever again. It seems your performance didn't just save the hotel's reputation. It also saved a relationship.
But I appreciate that they put the Easter egg in here. Yeah, tie it up with a little bow for those who care.
Wow, okay.
Also, if you listen to the second part of the conversation of this couple, I thought this was interesting, and I might be the only human who thought this is interesting, but they talk about looking for a house together.
Now, I thought the property we saw the other day was to die for.
It was, but don't you think it might be a little big for the 2 of us?
Well, he does need to have room for my piano.
Are they talking about Shinra Manor? The mansion in Nibelheim?
Did they say they were there?
No, but I could find no one else online because I did look this up. I was like, am I the only one who made this connection? Because maybe it's actually not a connection at all and I'm just crazy. But their dialogue just reminded me so much of the Shinra Mansion. It's like the developers were foreshadowing just for fun, just like a little bit. Because, I mean, think about it.
Because it had to be big enough.
Shinra Manor, which is where Sephiroth learned of his connection to Jenova before going crazy, right?
It's in Nibelheim.
Yeah, it's known for being spooky and even haunted, right? It's really large.
It's bigger than all the stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and it has a grand piano in one of the main rooms, and that's one of the things it's known for, right? And here, this couple says the house they looked at was large, needed to fit a piano, and that it was, quote, to die for. I don't know. I was like,
to die for.
The Shinra Manor. I don't know. You heard it here, folks.
They're already a callback from Costa del Sol, like, skipping out on the concert. So maybe they're just having fun with this.
Just all kinds of callbacks,
That's
all
funny.
the same couple or something like that. I don't know.
I did not pick up on that.
And then there are also a couple of mini games you can play at the hotel. The first is the Queen's Blood mini game that you can play against Robin, right? He's a man who speaks using some sort of like sign language that Cloud recognizes as being SSL.
Used to be a soldier. Lots of hand signals. That's how Shinra Sign Language came to be a thing. I know the basics.
And then once you beat him, which I did on my first try, 16 to 11, Robin reveals that he is also ex-military, right? And he says he actually lost his voice in the war, which is why he uses SSL. Right. So he's not deaf, but I thought it was kind of interesting and unique and maybe even nicely inclusive to have someone doing some sort of sign language here. Although I have no idea how the deaf community feels about it, but I was like, oh, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I liked it. I liked Cloud just talking to him like normal, right? You can hear me, right? And then him just talking back. And then Cloud just happens to
know the songs.
Know it.
Yeah. And then the other minigame you can play in the hotel is...
Oh, no.
It's the Liberace minigame.
The Liberace minigame.
The two-step. Isn't it the two-step?
Specifically, you can play the piano, right? And you play the song called Two Legs, Nothing to It.
Oh, Two Legs. That's
Two
right.
legs, nothing to it. And actually, this is another Jolie thing that probably no one cares about, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Tell us, Jolie.
So for a moment, when I saw the music and the name, and I heard it, it actually kind of confused me that this was the piece that we played in the cave, because I immediately recognized the melody as being the Bandits leitmotif.
How stupid can you be? It's crazy simple. Compensatory damages is like compensation for damages. Oh yeah.
Right?
It is the Bandits.
Yeah, it's the Bandits leitmotif. It's their theme.
I don't have time for this.
Right now, Buzz. Relax, boys. I've got just the plan.
And that didn't make a lot of sense to me, because the sheet music you find in this game is usually related to the location that you can find it in. And the bandits are nowhere to be seen in Cosmo Canyon, nor would they have any reason to be there, right?
You'd think that it would be like Cosmo Canyon theme or something.
Right,
or
Red, right? But then if you think about the title of the song, it's called Two Legs, Nothing to It. What does that remind you of?
Two legs, nothing to it. I don't know.
Okay, so...
Sorry.
Ernest, what does this remind you of? Two legs, nothing to it.
I mean, the only thing it reminds me of is when Red decided to do Michael Jackson.
Yes! Okay. Yeah, so it's Red. Okay. It reminds us of Red dressing up in a trooper uniform on the cruise ship and then dancing like Michael Jackson. Exactly. I think he even actually says those words.
Two legs, nothing to it.
I think he does when he first stands up, because he's a little bit wobbly.
Yeah.
And it's like encouraging himself. He's like, two legs, nothing to it.
But the bandit theme is not a theme from the original, or is it?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I went back and I looked at the cruise ship scene and the song that plays while Red dances, and it is a variation of the song that serves as the Bandits theme.
The song that he dances to?
Yes. So that, you know how they do like a kind of Michael Jackson take?
Yeah, I know.
On a common leitmotif that we
Two legs, nothing to it?
It's the Bandits theme. Because then I was like, well, why are they playing? Because they're so purposeful with their music and their leitmotifs. I was like, why are they playing the Bandits leitmotif behind, like, as the Michael Jackson track while Red is dancing when we really don't ever hear it in Rebirth if it's the Bandits leitmotif? Like, there has to be some reason to play it here with Red.
Right.
And so then I went back to the original game scene where Red dances in the trooper uniform up on the ship, and he's just kind of walking, like dancing back and forth. And sure enough...
Wait, this happens in the original?
Yeah. So in the original game, it's a real quick moment. Like the ship is totally different. It's like more of a military ship.
Okay.
It's not like a cruise ship with passengers. It's more of like an official mission-oriented ship. And they all do dress up in trooper uniforms, including Red. It shows him just kind of like moving like this, like up on top, and it's kind of like he's dancing. And that's why they wrote in the Michael Jackson dance, is because they're paying homage.
There was actual, okay, gotcha.
To that moment on the ship with Red. But the song that plays during that original game moment is this leitmotif too.
Okay, wow.
So that's why they pulled the leitmotif over.
Wow.
So this is a unique melody in that it represents both Red and the bandits in some way. And the reason for that is because in the original game, the bandits, or we might know them as Beck, Burke,
Yeah.
Butch, and Bert. Those are the names, I think. So in the original game, they didn't have their own leitmotif, right? They weren't even fleshed out characters. They didn't even get names until Remake and Rebirth.
Right.
In the original game, that melody, that leitmotif, was just used for like general mischievous scenes or like sleazy locations kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
Like Wall Market, I think, uses it. And the ship scene where Red is in that trooper uniform. So even though Remake and Rebirth decided to take that melody and basically give it to the bandits as their leitmotif in the Re-Trilogy, they kept it underscored during Red's dance and made it available to play here as well, which is probably more information than you ever cared about. But
no, it's interesting.
Since I'm so like obsessed with Final Fantasy music, I heard it and I was like, why are we playing the Bandits theme?
Yeah,
you know?
the Bandits theme.
And so I had to do all this digging and I found all of that.
And you have to play the song a million times because it's so hard to complete.
I was going to say, how did it go for you guys?
Oh my gosh, so bad. Okay, so I played it today. I didn't know.
I heard you. I was working and I heard you laughing in the living room and then I heard like chords.
Just for context for the viewers, I didn't know that the hotel existed. I didn't see that part when I played it through both playthroughs, right?
I think it's so funny that you didn't know it existed.
You can pull up a map and I could have seen the piano icons and gone and found it, but I was like, I guess I just missed it because there's like 2 elevators in Cosmo Canyon and I never knew if I went to the right one or like whatever. Anyway, I went and found it today because Jolie's like, we're going to talk about the inn. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know there was one. And then I go and play the song and I'm thinking like, it's taken me in the other piano games, like the one in Gongaga was the most difficult one I had ever done up until this point. And then I see the like 4 little note icons on this one indicating its difficulty. It's like, oh, this one's like the hardest one that we've played because the Chocobo, whatever song we played in Gongaga was like a 3-note one and Tifa was 2 or whatever.
They're getting progressively harder.
And I play it, I'm like, I'll do fine. It was so hard. I could not, I probably played it 30 times today.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, because, okay, here's my problem with the piano minigame, okay? I've played rhythm games.
Yes.
Like Guitar Hero and all these other things. And like they have specific rules that you can work on. And like there's only a few inputs, right? So if you play on those plastic guitars or whatever, right? You push a button and then you strum. If that happens, then you've connected on the note when it's coming down the whatever.
Like on the certain beat.
Yeah. But the problem with this is that the joysticks are like such a weird, not precise.
Imprecise, yeah.
If you don't angle it in the certain direction, it's imprecise, and then all of a sudden, like, you missed a note because you flicked it a certain way.
Yeah.
And then the thing that drives me nuts, it's like, I'm trying to learn the song, and it's slowly, you know, progressing towards when you need to hit the note on the right beat. And if you flick it the wrong way, it'll say miss, and then it just disappears, so you don't know. I'm like, don't make it disappear. I want to see, like, where I'm supposed to hit it, right?
When it hits.
But then it does that thing where if you do it wrong, then it just sounds like you're messing up the piano, which is like a fun gameplay thing, and it does not let me kind of learn it. So I would just sat there failing on purpose. I'm like, I'm not even going to touch the left hand. I'm just going to play the right hand if I could do it. And I literally was like looking at my hand at the screen, and I had practiced it like 10 times, and I'm like, I am doing this, and it is not registering my inputs. Like, it was frustrating me.
Yes.
But I don't know if I've gotten worse.
No, you're not alone. It's tricky.
Yeah, but I went back and tried to play Tifa's theme, and like I sucked at that too today. So I was like, I don't know. I just can't play the piano anymore. I've gotten A ranks on all of them because that's what you need to, you know.
Did you get an A rank here?
No, I got a C every time. I never got above a C.
Okay.
Ever. And I tried so hard. Oh, it drove me crazy. They should give you what the melody sounds like before you have to play it, right?
I see.
Don't you think, like, from a musical standpoint? Because if I knew what the track sounded like, I wish they would just let you listen to it and be like, okay, that's what I'm going for. But if you don't play it right, it's just doing the metronome, like tick, tock, tick, and then you're playing it right. But once you start messing it up, it's like, wait, when am I supposed to be hitting these things and on what beat? It just feels so bad. Feels bad.
It's clunky, period. Yeah. Like, it's just not a good minigame.
Yeah. How did it go for you, Ernest? Do you remember?
Same as Spence. I don't think I ever got better than a C on this one.
So bad.
It's just imprecise. And then I feel like the difference between the piano minigames and then the other ones where you do, like, they're dancing and you're hitting, like, the square or the triangle, like, to try to get it in the beat and the color as the music's going on. Like, those are fairly precise.
They're good.
Like you can get them pretty well.
Yes.
And even if you miss one of them, it doesn't throw the whole thing off. I feel like with the piano mini games, once you miss one, the rest is just a train wreck after it.
And then that metronome kicks back in and you're like, ah.
Yeah. What is the song supposed to sound like? I don't know.
Yeah, not like this, that's for sure.
I guess I'll just have to keep plunking away until I don't miss it.
Not like this.
I'd much rather have DDR, the Dance Dance Revolution thing.
Yeah, so I knew the song because I know all the songs.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't mean I know this arrangement necessarily, and it definitely doesn't mean that I know how to move the joystick the way that they want. I don't know. I only tried playing this piece 5 times before I was like, that's good enough for now. I'll come back to this. I got a C rank every time except on my 4th time where I squeaked by with a B. And then I didn't play it again for this chapter because I don't think I had a lot of fun with it. I was like, this song's, it's not the greatest song, let's be honest. It's like, nobody's like, oh, the Bandits theme.
Yeah, I know.
It's my favorite melody, you know what I mean? I think they like make it hard on purpose. I think I do get an A on it later in chapter 12, but
that's awesome.
The biggest challenge was playing the left hand and the right hand together for me. And I don't know. I think the piano minigame is fun enough. I just wish, so for me, as this is going to sound really elitist, but like I'm a musician, right? I do music things, but I have a really good sense of rhythm.
You do.
I have like an insanely accurate sense of rhythm. I used to play the drums in high school. I was in a band called Jolie's Our Drummer. I did not name the band. It was a stupid name, and I begged them to change it.
That's a great name.
Yeah, it was so dumb. But
I know, but
it was fun
for
like,
a high school band.
You know, high school band. But like, I'm really precise with rhythms, and I'm telling you, the rhythms here are not correct. Because if you hit the joystick at the moment that the rhythm tells you to hit, you will not get it right.
Yes.
And so you have to do it just lagged. Like you have to lag.
Yes.
The exact like microseconds after the actual hit of the downbeat or the offbeat or whatever beat it is. And I'm telling you, as somebody who's very good with rhythm, that is how this game is. So it makes it really hard because it's already complicated enough to be trying to play 2 different hands, right, at the same time and trying to hit the notes when you're supposed to hit them. But it's so much harder when you have to consciously hit the notes milliseconds after you're actually supposed to hit the notes, because I think that's what's happening here. And I would challenge somebody to prove me wrong.
It's been my complaint about a lot of things in this game is the controls are not pinpoint accurate on a lot of things, not just the piano game.
They are trying to take on so many different mechanics with all of these different mini games that it kind of makes most of them suffer in one way or another. And I don't know if they just didn't calibrate it right with a PS5 controller in the end or something.
I think it would be easier if I just muted the television and I just went off the visual indicators.
People say to do that online.
Do they? Okay, that's crazy because because if it were on the beat, then it would help you because then you start to get the feel of the rhythm.
It's a music game. It should be on the beat.
Muscle memory kicks in because I was doing like left hand and I'm learning like the pattern. You know, it's like and I'm doing the left hand. I'm like, this is not on beat, but I'm just kind of like when people say, well, it is. It's. I mean, I perceive the millisecond off or whatever, you know. And they even do dumb things like dumb choices like the left hand chords that you're playing. It's so funny because I was doing it. It even like does a little offbeat chord that doesn't play when the visual indicator goes.
Yeah.
And it's purposefully doing that. Other chords are like a lagging one, but then it does like a thing where it's like, and I'm like, no, hit. I'm like, you're doing that on purpose, and why would you ever do this? Why would you ever make a rhythm game like this? Oh, it drives me crazy. You have to memorize it, and I think I will just turn off the sound and try and do it with just the visual.
Yeah, try it. Tell me if you do any better.
Yes.
It's not easy, and there's harder ones coming.
Oh.
You just wait, because Spencer, you haven't done all the piano mini games, huh? There's one I was like, what?
Well, yeah, and I'm looking this up. So, like, apparently for the Platinum Trophy, you need to get, like, A rank on all of these.
Yeah, you have to get, at least you don't have to get S, which S is, like, insane.
Sure, I've never gotten an S. You can't make one mistake.
I've gotten S's, but I didn't get an S on this one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll end it on that note.
Forget you, piano minigame.
On the upbeat,
On the upbeat. Nice, Ernest. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, we got some deep discussions about how I'm the only one who thinks these people are a cult. And I'm still trying to figure out Planetology. But I think it was good, interesting conversations. So thanks for being here with me, you guys. It's been really fun.
This is only the beginning.
And I guess we could say, yeah, look forward to more Chapter 10 episodes in the future. So stay tuned wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch the video version on either Spotify or YouTube. We encourage you to follow us on our dedicated YouTube channel. Please come be a part of our community there, and you can lend your support by leaving a like and a comment, and definitely subscribe. Help us grow. By the time you see this, Spencer and I will probably be in the middle of streaming Final Fantasy VII Remake. No! You guys, we got like 280 votes, and that's what won. I was so disappointed that it wasn't Stranger in Paradise. I really wanted that.
The
stream.
Souls-like game.
Oh my gosh. That would have been so much fun, because I would have hated so much about it. But it's okay. If this stream goes well, we'll do another one, and maybe that one will win. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then special thanks, of course, to those from our YouTube community who shared opinions for this discussion. If you still want to be part of our future 10 discussions, it's not too late. Leave a comment on that red post, right? And we'll try to incorporate that into our next episode, because there's still more in this long chapter, especially story-wise.
And don't forget to leave us a review everywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all the podcasts.
And with that, that's it. I've discovered a new recipe. I figured I needed to do it for this shirt.
You need to do it for the shirt.
Or walk tall. Same game.
And may the flames of the Phoenix keep you away from any cults who are looking for you.
Very good.
Which could include planetologists.
No.
I could have sworn that some people in our comments
maybe people think it's cultish, but I don't.
Said cult, but like maybe not, because I would have put the comment in here. Maybe I'm literally the only person who thought they were a cult.
I think I know the reason why. It's not lost on me what Planetology sounds like.
Well, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Careful, you're going to get your house burned down.
I'm just saying, like, I can understand why the inference was there. But I felt like it was a fine little area. I loved it.
Yeah, and I've been told that this is my new outro, so see you later, you cheeky little blotters. I couldn't even do it that time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, that is good.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Goodbye.